Hello there. Sorry for like being like 15 minutes late, basically. But the camera was giving me such stupid fucking problems. I was like 3 seconds away from uh going live just without setting it up. Let me turn off everything I don't need. And let me turn on the live stream so I can see what everybody is saying. There we go. That should be fine. Now it's perfect. Okay, my mic doesn't seem to be muted. That's great. The camera is all right. Like all of the sounds should be good to go. Let me just get comfy in here. Hi, stars. Man, I really need to get like a better fucking chair. Sitting down to be actually comfortable in this one is a fucking pain. And it's supposed to be like a really good one, you know? And remember everybody, if you are sitting down a lot during the day, be it for a job, for school, for just relaxing, you need a good ass chair, otherwise you're gonna fucking regret it down the line, man. You don't wanna deal with... Oh my god. Did you guys hear that? My cat just sneezed really loudly. He's still sneezing. I said that on the last stream. He's still like sick and sneezing. I called the vet, but she said that's normal. That's just like cat, uh, basically cat, common cold for cats, and it kinda will go away on its own. Don't know how long, but I'm going to go sit with my mom, eat, drink. Don't lose me, lol. Uh, yeah, by all means, man. By all means, spend time with your family. You can always come back to for like the replay of the stream. And I'm gonna be streaming a lot this weekend, so you know, I will be streaming tomorrow. I will be streaming the day after tomorrow. Basically like 3 days in a row. Nothing to worry. Plenty of chances to like get in the live chat and make suggestions. You know, just chat with me. And even if you miss out, there is always the replay. You know, nothing like. This is not urgent. This is not like important. This is just a chill stream to kill time, share your passion towards games and other medium, and just relax and engage with the community, you know. So, first of all, there is some children screaming outside. Okay, the mic is not picking that up, I think, so that's good. I'm very surprised the mic didn't pick that up. I didn't see the thing move. I always appreciate the support. Don't get me wrong, but remember that there are more important things happening like around you and in the world other than this stream. So like this is the least important. This should be the least important thing in your day. But I really appreciate it when you do show up. Of course, like the support is very much welcome. So yeah, today is gonna be something that I have been looking forward to for a long time. I'm finally gonna be watching a Rogue Trader review. I really struggled to find like a good Rogue Trader review. I don't know why like my usual content creators that I like to watch didn't cover it. I know Bricky played it, but he didn't make a video about it. He like streamed it or something. Mandalore, I have no idea if this is even on his radar. So I'm like, so I had to like search up another creator, and this seemed the most promising. This seemed the most promising. Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader review after 100%ing it by Mortismal Gaming. He does a bunch of things like this where he reviews games after 100%ing them. He does guides for a bunch of different games from what I've seen on his channel. He seems like a really cool person, so I kinda wanted to be introduced to this game because I still don't I know like it's like a really deep RPG set in the 40k universe from what I heard, but I don't know that much about it. This is a coincidence. I'm playing this game right now. Yeah, this game is like fairly new, right? This game came out like a couple of months ago or something. Let me see. This review is from 2 months ago. My cat is still sneezing. Looks like the two. Okay, so it seems like it came out. Like this is still a fairly new game. So I'm not surprised. Like some of you guys in the chat are still playing it. I think Stas said he was also playing it and finished it by now. If I remember correctly. So yeah, I'm very interested as to if the game is even good. I haven't heard if the game is actually good or not. So let's get into the video and find out. And yeah, also, yeah, that is one thing that I definitely heard. It is a long game with a lot of content, so it will naturally take like a few months for quality, like big reviews to come out. At least I imagine Mandalore would play the fuck out of it if he wanted to review it. So Bricky probably too. So
What's going on, everybody? Mordem here, this time bringing you my review after 100% for Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, the most recent CRPG from Owlcat Games and the first CRPG for Warhammer 40k. But to get my usual stuff out of the way first, I review games after 100% all the time to set me apart from other reviewers on the platform, and while that does include the achievements, it also includes a lot more than that. My Steam profile is public and linked below as well if you'd like to learn more, alongside a video that explains everything that I cover. That said, for this game in particular, it would appear that on Steam at least 2 of the achievements I cannot seem to obtain, and I believe they are bugged. These are the Uncover the Ice achievement and Don't Stop the Exploration, which is exploring all the optional areas. As we're about to get into, the game does have a variety of bugs that I think are preventing these 2 from being attainable, but if you have any information on them, definitely drop a comment down below, but it's certainly not the first time it's happened, and bugged achievements aren't worth holding up this review for. Another important thing to note is that
I found it extremely easy to make the walking blender where everything near him turns to red mist. Arch Militant is a pretty overpowered class. Damn. Immediately like the icons from XCOM are there. I don't know who made this game, but actually, let me just look that up real quick. Rogue Trader Wikipedia. Oh, they made the Pathfinder games. That's interesting. Developers who previously worked on titles such as Heroes of Might and Magic 5, Silent Storm, oh my god. Okay. Man, that is just straight up the icon from XCOM 2 where you take cover. For a second there, I thought, like, did people who make XCOM do this? I'm not sure.
that I did receive a review copy of this game from Owlcat Games back in November, a couple weeks before it officially launched, so I did have it in my hands quite a bit longer than most people have, though I did actually pay for a collector's edition of this one at the same time. Moving right along, however, the first thing, and probably the most important thing in this review that I want to talk about, is the technical
Oh, Owlcat, yes, my boys. Yeah, to be fair, their track record so far is fucking amazing, with like the 2 Pathfinder games that are so dense with content and, from what I heard, very good, to this, which also seems to be a huge game from a beloved fucking IP. Man, they are on a roll for sure.
State of the game. As always, talking about new releases these days, it's especially important to mention how they are running, both in terms of bugs and overall stability. In my initial launch review for the title, I mentioned that I didn't run into anything game-breaking, but I did run into a host of minor things that got very much so in the way. Now, since that launch review, I have encountered quite a bit more, and while my general impression from that initial video remains the same, in that it's the least buggy of the 3 games they have released, there are quite a few things you need to be aware of. Starting with
Man, this does look like Pathfinder with just a Warhammer 40k skin slapped on top of it, and I mean that in like I mean that in the fondest sense that I can mean that.
with game breaking stuff. Now, again, personally, I still have not run into anything game breaking. However, a quick look at user reviews will show that other people have, and Owlcat has already put out a couple of patches and hotfixes this month aimed at fixing the most prominent of those, but people are definitely still running into them. Unsurprisingly, most of this occurs in the later acts of the game, which were not fully beta tested, as the beta test and the pre-release versions all stopped at Chapter 3 until I got the review copy. Now, in addition to that stuff, though, I have since encountered...
Man, but I gotta say, though, those servo skulls... really stiff flying animation. For a second, I thought it's bugged.
A lot of major bugs, mostly in relation to companions and their quests finishing properly. In my initial playthrough, I played as a character that, due to his convictions, which we'll get into, killed a fair few of the companions in response to their heresy. However, had I not killed some of them, I likely would have encountered problems with their quests resolving, as many of the companion quests in Act 4 can run into a host of issues that stop progression or keep them from even starting at all. And that is, I would say, a much more serious problem than all the minor bugs I've yet to get into. Now, on the minor side of things, they are plentiful but unlikely to affect your ability to complete the game in any way. Things such as the percentage chance to hit or the damage previews ahead of enemies just disappearing, forcing a reload. Your character can sometimes get stuck sitting on your ship bridge, which breaks a few of the animations. The damage preview for most enemies is always wrong, which I imagine is due to all the stacking effects. There's a few, I would say, visual bugs that I've encountered personally. I've encountered bugs with menus that cause them to overlap and kind of freak out for a minute. So in summation, I would say my initial playthrough was a mostly smooth experience with a lot of, I would say, minor problems that added up over the total of the game. These days, having played through the game a few more times, I still haven't run into anything game-breaking, but other people have, and I have run into more major issues that are still going to get in the way of your enjoyment, which means for some people, I could definitely see the merit in simply waiting until they get that fixed, as there will be some DLC coming for this anyway. So while the game certainly isn't unplayable and you can finish it, it does have some serious issues that bear to mention. Now,
yeah, I wanted to say I was just waiting for the reviewer to finish his point. Yeah, I just wanted to say that this is pretty common. I'm not trying to justify or defend this, but I think this is pretty common with games that are very ambitious, like these ambitious RPGs, like previous Pathfinder games, fucking Fallouts, Knights of the Old Republic. Like these big RPGs always have some like compounding issues. Very small things that annoy you, but by the end of the game they get really annoying. But that doesn't, like, obviously, that doesn't prevent the games from being fucking amazing. So...
moving along from there, I want to talk about the story setup for the game and my thoughts on it, on top of the conviction systems. Now, in Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, you play as a rogue trader, as it were. The entire game is adapted from the tabletop version of a 2000s TTRPG set in this area, where you also played the role of a rogue trader and their retinue. A rogue trader is someone with the Imperium of Man in the Warhammer 40k universe that is tasked with expanding the Imperium's borders, essentially by any means necessary, given leeway and privilege to do that far beyond what any normal citizen would have, and this is cause for all sorts of unique situations that other people in the Imperium would simply never see, which is a ripe playground for an RPG, of course. So with that in mind,
that's a pretty cool setting, yeah.
After character creation, start the game as our freshly made rogue trader, who is an heir to a rogue trader dynasty, as these things are genetic and passed down. During the prologue of the game, and by the way, we are going to be getting into a fair few spoilers here, so if you don't want any of those, maybe just skip ahead, or go watch my launch review. But with that in mind, our rogue trader just...
I'm gonna... Man, this is a very weird structure. Very, like... backwards from what Mandalore usually does. Mandalore usually first talks about the gameplay and then the story. But this is like spoilers for the literal beginning of the game, right? I actually own the Rogue Trader core book. It was a great writing resource for sci-fi ideas. I'm loyal to such problems because such big RPGs can't release without problems. That is very true. It's impossible to squash like every bug, every like nuisance in a game this big, I think. So yeah, I'm gonna be I'm gonna be continuing with the video. If I hit a spoiler, that's on me. If some of you guys wanna opt out just in case, then you know, do so at your own leisure. Because at the end of the day, if a game is like truly worth playing through, some spoilers won't like ruin your enjoyment out of it. You know.
In the prologue, winds up becoming, of course, the Rogue Trader after your predecessor dies a mysterious death, being assassinated during some warp travel, as another member of the crew proves themselves to be a heretic involved with a cult to chaos that causes you no small amount of trouble. After taking up the Rogue Trader dynasty, your job is to essentially get your house in order while navigating the mysterious events of the Coronis Expanse. Now, while I don't want to go into detail on every possible plot thread here, there are some things I want to mention. For starters, much of the story can feel a little disjointed until you get to Act 5, which is sort of the wrap-up chapter where everything comes together and all of the bits and pieces you've been experiencing suddenly prove to be part of a larger plot. Personally, I did enjoy this, but my first time through especially, I was a little confused how it was going to wrap up narratively, but I do think they did a really cool job of weaving all those plot threads together into something that made sense. With that in mind, I really did not...
Man, there is some really cool, like, images displayed here that really take me back to, like, artwork and, like, panoramas that Bricky has shown in his videos about Warhammer. This seems like fucking properly set in that universe. From me, of course, like looking from the distance because I didn't play this game, but this game looks properly like fucking deep in that universe.
Enjoy Act 3 of the game. You are essentially kidnapped and sent to Camorra, which is the dark city of the Drukhari, that is to say dark elves who are masters of torture and suffering, and how they put you in Chapter 3 is a bit railroady, and then they take all your companions, your gear for a little while, you have to get all that stuff back, and overall it's just not a chapter of the game I enjoy very much, and while I can see what they were trying to do with it, I personally think they could have gone about it in a few different ways to make that less of a headache in terms of player enjoyment, but it's by far the weakest part of the story in my opinion. Not to mention it's where some of the game's problems start to pop up before becoming more prominent in Act 4. Overall though, I do still really enjoy the story and how it plays out. Now another thing in relation to the story I want to talk about though is the conviction systems, as they play a pretty heavy role. A lot of your bigger choices are defined by your convictions. You can pick 3 different convictions: dogmatic, iconic...
Okay, so this reviewer seems to like dodge the major like spoiler territory so far. Just explaining the setup and the mechanics like behind the story. That's okay. That's fine.
Class or heretical, which align with certain viewpoints in the Warhammer 40k universe. Dogmatic being all about fighting chaos and serving the Emperor, no matter the cost, and destroying any mutants, heresy, xenos that get in your way at the same time. Iconoclast, on the other hand, is someone who is more about preserving life where it is possible to do so. This doesn't necessarily make them a good person, however, simply that they aren't so quick to throw lives away when it is potentially unnecessary. Whereas the heretical path just sees you fully embracing chaos and can lead to some potentially different outcomes. Now, all of these conviction options will open up new avenues of choice through individual encounters spread throughout the game. That isn't to say they are the only options. In spite of these, you will generally have a few other.
This guy is going like full on heretical, right? Because I see he has 4 points into heretical and like basically nothing in dogmatic and iconoclast. Damn. Fucking heresy.
Their options as well, so not everything boils down to these convictions. However, each of these convictions is separated out into ranks 1 through 5, and higher ranks of these convictions unlock both abilities as well as more and more options in dialogues, etc., provided you meet the minimums. Once you reach rank 3 in an individual conviction, you become locked into it. Other convictions can no longer progress past that point, and it makes a pretty big difference on your ship in terms of how everything looks and how people talk to you, so to speak. Now, a few notes on the conviction system itself. For starters, I think the point spread for the convictions is a little too tight. While there are 5 ranks for each, you're almost certainly going to end the game in rank 3 or 4 unless you do absolutely everything and adhere to that specific conviction as much as possible. And even then, for Iconoclast and Heretical, actually, I still wasn't able to get the final rank for those, but I was able to do it with Dogmatic just barely, by like a few points. So I would be surprised if the point spread there doesn't get loosened up a little bit, as it is very tight, which can cause you to lose out on some options if you're not fully devoting yourself to it. And because you can mix and match a little bit up to rank 2 of the other convictions, makes that a system that just doesn't have a lot of wiggle room, where realistically I think it should. Now, another portion of this is that the heresy one in particular is borderline unrealistic, and I'm going to get into a heavy spoiler to explain my reasoning on this.
Ooh. This is gonna be tough.
many ways, I think this particular conviction path is where the game feels the most like a game, that is to say, unrealistic. Heresy in Warhammer 40k is a big deal. You will be executed for it, and while you do have some leeway as a rogue trader, which is some...
Oh, okay, so... Yeah, I can imagine that from a get-go that... I can imagine that from a get-go that making a campaign where you are a heretic, like serving the Empire, would be just impossible. Like, how the fuck do you make a story like that, right? It would be like immediately, okay, you are now a heretic and you must face like fucking kill squads of the Empire, and that's the rest of the game. Of course it's a video game, so those things kinda should be there, and you should be able to do them just for the sake of playing the game. But yeah, so I'm assuming this is gonna be a pretty big spoiler for the heretical path. So if anybody doesn't want to hear a spoiler for the heretical path, you should like mute the stream for like next 2.5 minutes or so. So I'm gonna unpause the video now. I was just giving you like a fair warning.
Someone with an enormous amount of privilege, you are still not immune to the repercussions of pursuing heresy. And in order to make the heretical path work, they have to jump through a lot of hoops to allow a lot of people to just let you get away with it that almost certainly would not do so. That is to say, they would cut you down in a heartbeat. And in fact, we see them do exactly that with someone of a similar status, namely Argenta and Theodora. You see, when your predecessor, Theodora, is killed in the opening act, it's left a mystery for quite some time. However, if you take one of your companions, Sister Argenta, with you into Act 3, she will confess that she is the person who killed Theodora, another rogue traitor. And if you inquire as to why, Argenta went to find the rogue traitor during the attack on your ship in the prologue with the warp travel and found her in possession of a heretical object, and Argenta immediately and almost without thinking murdered both her and her arch-militant in an effort to purge the heresy, which is of course what Sisters of Battle are all about. And meanwhile, that then same character goes on to watch you do 100 heretical things and just doesn't do anything about it simply doesn't track for me. So in some ways, I think the heresy playthrough, while certainly unique and fun, doesn't make a lot of sense from a lore perspective and, just generally people's reactions to it. And while I'm fine with some of those things because this is a game, not everything's going to line up perfectly, I do think that becomes more of an issue when we start talking about companions, which we'll get to here in just a moment. Because first, I want to talk about the endings a little bit. Now, there's technically a few different, I would say, major endings to this game, one of which is secret, though the secret ending is super easy.
Okay, so that was the spoiler. Okay, I get it. There's one part in particular where if it was faithful to the setting, everyone, friendly and enemy, would immediately gun you down, but of course that's not as fun. For as long as I can remember, we've been told almost to our faces that many of our faults will be overlooked. I'm just going to say this, it's less of a spoiler than what he said with Argenta. You can build and use demon engines, and both the crew and the Inquisition let you get away with it. Damn.
To get, as opposed to Alcat's previous games where it was honestly a huge hassle. But one really cool thing about the secret ending that I liked is that it is colored, so to speak, by your convictions. In order to obtain the secret ending, you have to talk with an NPC, and how you talk to it and the lessons you impart will dictate how it acts after the fact. So not only is there a secret ending, there are multiple variations of it based on your convictions as the rogue trader. And that was a really cool way of handling that I thought was interesting and different than their previous work. And then you combine that with all the individual outcomes for companions and the Coronis Expanse at large, and you've got the potential for a pretty satisfying outcome in terms of the ending, which is all done with various slides, etc., that show off what you've accomplished, or didn't, as it were, which was certainly nice. Now, as much as I enjoyed the story, though, the companions of this game fell a little bit flat for me. Now, I will say I enjoyed some of them. Most of them I was neutral.
Okay, so that was basically all the story he's gonna talk about, I imagine. So yeah, respectful with the spoilers, I would say. Like, that one thing he really warned that it is a major component, the thing with Argenta, definitely, like, is a spoiler, but
about at best, and then quite a few I just really didn't like. Not so much because they were uninteresting, but rather because their characterization was provided so little that the character as a whole just feels really flat. So as much as I like this game overall, the companions are a bit of a hit or miss situation. Now, I think it's important to mention though that I won't be talking about every single companion individually, mostly because there are a few secret companions you can get towards the end of the game that I don't want to spoil in this review. But broadly speaking, I think a lot of the companions lack a certain amount of interaction with the rogue trader that would have made them more interesting. Oftentimes in these games, and in Alcat's own previous work even, companions, in my opinion, are at their best when they can be influenced by and interact with the main character in meaningful ways that then impact both you, by default of course, and the character themselves. I think Rogue Trader lacks that in quite a few different cases, with many of the companions to me feeling like a cardboard cutout representative of their faction and nothing more. As I mentioned, Argenta, for instance, is probably one of the biggest cases of this, as she is a sister of battle, a nun with a gun, as they like to say. A lot of people are upset that you cannot romance her. Now, generally, I don't care about romances in-game, so that's not a big deal to me personally. But beyond that, Argenta just doesn't have a lot of characterization. She's a sister of battle, first and foremost, and everything else about her is secondary, which is kind of proven through her dialogue and things. But even that is, I would say, counteracted by the fact that she doesn't even live up to what she was supposed to have done in the plot, as I mentioned earlier during the story section. She'll eventually leave your party if you engage in enough heresy, but that's about it. So even the personality they try to give her as just being an overly zealous sister of battle isn't really as impactful as you might want it to be if they are sticking purely to the lore. And in the absence of things like a romance option or meaningful conversations, Argenta's just not that interesting. She is the character character that you see at face value. Her story is about the fact that she was supposed to guard some relic, but because of a warp anomaly that caused decades to pass, she now kind of just doesn't have a job to do, and is afraid people have forgotten about her and that she can still serve the Emperor in some way. This leads her on a quest to find a holy artifact, and that's pretty much it. She never grows or changes, she stays the same static character from start to finish, and you see that repeated with a lot of different companions. That's not to say all of them. Some of them do have a bit of meaningful growth in my opinion, such as Cassia, the navigator of our crew. She's probably the one you have the most influence over, and because of that, she's a much better companion. Your conversations with her and guiding her to the head of her house as a navigator ultimately decides her fate and how well her house fares in the aftermath of the game, and it can be provided even more context by her being a romanceable character, giving you a lot more interactions with her. Now, in between those two extremes, you do have more neutral characters like Abelard. Abelard is our loyal seneschal who served Theodora before you, and his character is mostly that he's sad Theodora died and that he has a big family he's trying to take care of and bring honor to as a whole. And he's a decent character. He also doesn't get a ton of growth or change really throughout the game, but it's not outright contradictory or bothersome in any way. And if that's not enough, let's talk about a more, I would say, egregious example of companions you would have to just be, let's say, living dangerously to deal with. And not even because they're Xenos, but these are Irilette and Marizai. The Eldar.
Let's see. I'm probably going to agree with him on the companions. They're archetypes, however a few have a bit more going on. There are some interesting interactions where you can ask your crew what to do and their suggestions can unlock certain options that are beneficial and which you might not otherwise get. That's a cool feature. Cassia is the one the writers really brought their A game for. My girl, lol. Nice.
And Drukhari companions we get respectively. These are Xenos companions, that is to say they are alien species, which typically people aren't supposed to hang out with, but thanks to your status as a rogue trader, you can do. However, they look down on you. To them, you are an animal, essentially. And as a result of that, Irilette, who does actually have some growth over the course of her storyline that I think any sane person would be unlikely to see, because she actually sells you to the Drukhari if you have her in her party at the start of Act 3, which is what kicks that chapter off, which sees you and your entire retinue sent to Camorra to essentially be tortured to death. And while she certainly comes to regret that decision, I think a character that essentially looks down on you in every way it is possible to do so, and then outright tries to get you killed for something you didn't even do yourself, is beyond the point of redemption. Realistically, the only reason to keep her around is because it's a video game and you want to see what happens. And while there are other
Man, you don't do that with companions. Like, that will immediately turn people off from the idea of hanging around that fucking NPC.
companions,
I don't know about the character personality growth. They're adults whose personalities aren't likely to change anymore. Well, you say that, but then you can look at something like Fallout New Vegas, for example, and like companions in that game, you absolutely influence with how you solve their problems with them. Some of them are fucking robots, so they don't have much growth, right? But Boone is probably the best example. Like, you have this guy who lost his wife, and by the end of his story, you can either make him like really fucking really vengeful over this fact, or you can tell him to move on, and that like hugely impacts him as a character. So I do think I don't think that's like especially for obviously, even if that's true for real life, like, right? This is a video game. You want to have influence over the characters in your party. So I have to disagree. Like, there should be some influence over where they kinda end up. Like that girl he mentioned before, right? That's cool that you can influence her story. Like that's what we are here when we that's what we are here for when we play RPGs, right? Eldar don't think like humans. They make that clear even in the game. And what's funny is they also give you like 12 dialogue options to kill her before that point. There's a long dialogue chain where the option to shoot her is in the back is available for every choice. Yeah, that's like, man, I don't think a lot I agree with the reviewer. I don't think a lot of people are gonna stick around this character to find out that she actually has some kind of story. And even if so, like most people would stick around only out of that sense that, oh, maybe she has that secret, like, hidden story. She's like maybe like a really cool companion. I will only operate on that thought to get her into my crew to see like what she brings and everything like that, you know. um but yeah, this is setting up a companion for failure, in my opinion, that not only you get so many fucking options to attack her and kill her, and then like she also fucks you over.
A lot of them fall into one of those categories. They're either neutral to the point that they're uninteresting, contradictory to the point that it's honestly just not very good, or so hazardous to your well-being that you would have to be insane to keep them around. And for all those reasons, while I do think a lot of people could probably enjoy these companions, and I'm sure many people do, outside of one or two, I just didn't like a lot of them, and I don't think they're particularly well written, which is interesting because I think Owlcat has written really great companions that are much more in-depth, even when there have been restrictions in place from the IP holder, which is likely what I think happened here, to be frank. The companions from their previous games I think were better overall. Now, finally moving on a little bit, let's talk about the difficulty of the game and start breaking down some of the systems. Now, in terms of difficulty, I think they did a pretty good job here. I think Owlcat does a lot of things with difficulty that I enjoy seeing that involves a lot of modularity to their overall approach. That is to say, there are several different presets ranging from story all the way to unfair, which is like super hard mode. You can also play on a custom difficulty, breaking down each individual mechanic those difficulties are made up of to tailor the experience.
I've been saying this like every time I see a menu like this. I love to see like games that let you completely customize the experience towards your own preference. That's always so fucking
experience
cool.
To what you want to play with. Overall, I will say that Rogue Trader, thanks to some things we'll get into, is a much easier experience than something like Pathfinder, as the systems are a bit less opaque and overall it's just easier to get into. You're still likely to find a pretty solid challenge all around. That said, what a lot of these difficulty modifiers do and mean will make a little more sense if you're familiar with the D100 system at play in the Fantasy Flight version of the tabletop game this is based on, as some of the most important modifiers in this respect have to do with the penalty or bonus you are given to certain skill checks to make them passable. And in that regard, the one thing I want to mention is unfair mode. If you're playing on unfair, while certainly doable if you know what you're doing, the skill checks on that mode are deeply imbalanced. They need a balance pass. I believe Owlcat has actually said as much, as even if you have a maxed out character, some of the skill checks are just literally impossible, thanks to a bug that has caused the penalties to those skill checks to be much higher than intended. So if you're gonna play on unfair, do keep that in mind as you're
I'm assuming like it's been 2 months. I'm assuming this bug is completely gone from the game, because even like the developers said they're gonna they're gonna like take care of it. Granted, I haven't finished it yet, but I find that the default is way too easy. Yeah, it is. If you go Arch-Militant with Greatsword, it's so easy to get 3 turns around and 5+ attacks when you're only supposed to have 1. Holy fuck! But I still managed to get killed with 1 attack. Damn, that seems like Seems like it's a little bit all over the place. But man, 5 attacks in one round is fucking insane. In anything turn-based, that's just insane. And would make the game like way easier probably.
Likely in for a bit of a rougher time than was initially imagined. Now, moving on to character creation. Character creation in Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader is, in my opinion, pretty solid. You both have a ton of options, but at the same time, you'd be harder pressed to make a bad character, so to speak, than something like Pathfinder, where that's real easy to do if you don't know what you're doing. Which results in a system that is much more approachable, I would say, than something like Pathfinder, but it still manages to retain a bunch of depth, because how a lot of these systems interlock and overlap has a lot of versatility to it, and you can do some interesting things with both the origin of your character, the home world, etc., all of which grant you buffs. Now, before we dive too much into character creation, I did make a proper deep dive video if you're curious about how everything works, but here I want to talk about some of the most important stuff, which is your home world, your origin, and the archetypes or your class. Now, your home world is, of course, where you're from. It decides some initial bonuses to your stats, a main feature of sorts, and then it also gives you access to a bunch of talents you can pick up as your character levels up. And each world, of course, is a reference to what kind of world your character is born on, whereas origin is like your career before you became the rogue trader. This can be everything to a member of the ecclesiarchy, or the priesthood if you will, a crime lord, a navy officer, a noble, a psyker, which is like a space magician. And each of these also comes with a host of different conversation options that will be presented to you. That is to say, people will speak to you a little bit different based on your origin pick in combination with your triumph and darkest hour. Your triumph and darkest hour also affect your stats a tiny bit, but they are essentially the backstory for your character. What is something prominent they did and what is something they failed at.
That was something in Mass Effect 2. Like you basically had 3 backgrounds you could choose from, whether you were like a hero of a decisive battle, a lone survivor of a complete wipe of the human army, or something else, I don't remember. And characters would occasionally like bring that up, and even you had a nickname because of that in the game. That's cool. All of this seems super fucking solid. If you have Cassia with you, you can still give extra moves. You can go 3 to 4 times in total. God damn. I forgot the best part. After every attack, you hit harder, hit more often, get higher dodge and higher parry in case your dodge fails. You become invincible very quickly in a fight. God damn. I was an assassin psyker. It was good. I went with the priest as an arch-militant, so after a flurry of attacks, I could trigger my ultimate with the prayer and then could get another full turn with no attack limit. Seems like there is a lot of interacting... Seems like there is a lot of like moving parts that interact with one another, and you can really stack the deck in your favor quickly from what you guys are describing in the chat. But I like the difficulty in this game. I like the fact that difficulty in this game is much lower than in Pathfinder. For Pathfinder, it becomes ridiculous. You just don't hit the enemy with all possible modifiers on your character, and the enemy does... And the enemy does minimum damage to you? What the fuck? Damn. That does sound like a little bit goofy if like basically everybody is a little bit powerless in a fight. To be fair, I prefer games that have like default options kinda easier, and then you can just increase the difficulty yourself with different options. I think XCOM is XCOM 2 and XCOM 1 are fucking infamous for like the default difficulty makes you put in the work to finish the game. And there are so many higher difficulties, and the Iron Man, which like disables your saves and shit, like make the default a little bit easier because there is the Iron Man and the hardcore difficulty anyway for people who are looking for more challenge, you know? Like the default doesn't need to be this ridiculous grind fest, so yeah. So it's cool that this game is like this on the default setting. I'm cool with that. There are like 3 higher difficulties you can choose from if something is too easy. So you know that's good.
Overall, I do enjoy that system just because it changes a bit of how people speak to you, so it'll mix up the dialogue a little bit. It's not a major thing by any means, but it is nice to see. Then we have the archetypes. The archetypes are essentially your class. At level 1, you'll pick from one of 4, that is to say the basic archetypes, warrior, officer, operative, or soldier. And then at level 16, you can pick a specialization of sorts. Now, based on your initial choice, you'll only be able to pick a potential 3 of 6. You can only actually pick one of them, but you'll have an option of 3, I mean. And then lastly, at level 36, everyone winds up with the exemplar archetype, which is effectively a continuation of the first 2 with a few extra options added in to make you especially deadly. And because of this, again, sort of mix and match approach to various archetypes and things, you can, in combination with your character creation choices, make a character that feels very unique. Though we'll get into a little bit more of that during the progression systems portion, which we're about to dive into. But overall, I did want to say that I enjoy this system, if you will, because it's very versatile in how you can approach it. So even if you don't know a ton about this system and you're worried about making a wrong choice, if you're just playing on normal or something, I think it's an approachable system that you can play around with and learn more about the game. Now, moving into progression systems, however, after we leave character creation, we start completing quests, defeating enemies. We will, of course, be leveling up, which brings all sorts of progression with it. I would say progression largely boils down to leveling up, obtaining new gear, building up your trade empire, upgrading your ship, and enhancing your reputation with the various factions of the Coronis Expanse. Leveling up is fairly straightforward, but still a few things to mention. Now, based on your archetype, you'll be set on a path where every time you level up, you'll be given a host of options, typically between abilities, talents, increasing your skills, your base characteristics, etc. Some of these options are pretty straightforward, as they're just a handful of abilities to choose from, but occasionally, when you're picking your talents, I think there's a decent amount of room for confusion, as that list is very long and it's not, I would say, easily navigated. They do have some sort options at the top of the available talents menu, but a lot of these talents are so numerous that those sorting options aren't always super helpful. And I could see people getting a little bit confused there.
That is a lot of options, god damn.
Especially if you're playing something like a Psyker that has a bunch of extra talents in addition to all the regular ones. So discerning whether or not you need individual proficiencies or what to grab when is probably the most complicated part of this particular game. So while I wouldn't say it's the easiest game to approach for a newcomer because of strictly this, it still does provide it with a decent amount of depth. I do wish this menu was a little more navigable though, especially since some options that are available you wouldn't even really know are necessarily a bad idea. For instance, you can pick up power armor proficiency, which sounds really good at first, but there's essentially no power armor you can actually use in the game outside of 1 or 2 sets, which means heavy armor is usually the much better way to go there because you'll actually be able to use it. And there's things like that you wouldn't know at first glance. So because of that, I think even just a warning on the talent explaining that could be useful, and it would certainly be nice to see. Now, another part of progression is gear. Straightforward enough. As you play the game, you're going to find better and better items, which will, of course, affect all sorts of things. The main thing I want to mention here is that a lot of gear interacts directly with the certain archetypes. That enhances those abilities directly, which I thought was a cool way to approach itemization on top of the more regular stuff like, just more damage, better hit chance, etc.
That's literally my character, a Psyker in heavy armor wielding two-handed power sword. There are so many talents, it is impossible to memorize them all. Which is probably like a good thing, more options, more power to the player, basically. He even has a build similar to mine, Luma. They need to tell you your talent bonuses on the abilities they upgrade right now. If you take a break at all, you're going to forget your upgrades. Oh. That does sound like a little bit of a problem. You know, RPGs usually have that. Like there's bunch of memes, like if you take a break from an RPG and you come back, you are like, what the fuck was I doing? But yeah, with a system like this, I imagine it gets a little complicated if you take a longer break from the game.
Etc. Though when it comes to acquiring that gear, you might be wondering how that works, because as a rogue trader, we are impossibly rich. Richer than you would probably be able to fathom as someone living here in the current day, as a rogue trader owns literal planets, innumerable colonies, and that is represented in the game by both your profit factor and colony management. As you make choices throughout the game and manage your colonies, you'll earn profit factor, which then enables you to buy certain things from vendors. But those vendors will only sell to you if you have a high enough reputation with them. That reputation is garnered by selling and trading them goods, as the rogue trader of our name would imply. Basically, for a rogue trader, it's not so much whether or not you can afford something, but rather, is someone willing to sell it to you? Which means when it comes to acquiring gear, it can often be more about buttering people up than it is actually purchasing something. So basically, all of the useless items we'll be picking up off of enemies, instead of keeping them or selling them, etc., they get transferred into your cargo system of your ship hold, where you can then, once they are full, trade them to vendors to increase your reputation, to then buy the things you need, which is how you'll be acquiring a lot of that gear. This, in combination with your colonies, is how you're going to get the best stuff. As you develop your colonies, you can also earn some rewards from doing that. As you start exploring the space system, you'll ultimately encounter 5 different colonies that can be built up in different ways, some of which will provide all sorts of faction reputation, which is one of the main ways you'll be increasing that, by the way. And depending on the projects and things you complete in those colonies, it will shape what resources you have available to you, items you can procure, etc., etc. Now, you can manage these screens from basically anywhere. It's not something you have to go to a specific place to do. If you want to trade with people, there is an NPC on your ship bridge, which allows you to just go talk to them and do that, so you don't have to go anywhere specific, like actually tracking down the vendor, for instance. And the colonies can be managed.
That's very good. When you have to go to a specific place in an RPG, it always gets tedious by the end. Always, 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 always. RPGs like this have to be played truly to the end, for you will forget a lot of things. Yeah, some games like do certain things to minimalize like that feeling, but usually, I mean, it's like this with everything, right? When you stop watching a show and you come back to it, you naturally forget some plot lines and some things. Same with a book, same with a video game, same with pretty much everything that takes like a little bit more time to get through. This game has a lot of transitions. Oh. I wonder if he will actually talk about that then.
From one of the menus in game, with you only occasionally having to go there to involve yourself in an event. And while colonies can actually be attacked, forcing you to go engage in a space battle every once in a while, that was pretty rare. Though another big part of progression is upgrading your ship. We're going to be using a void ship to travel around space and the like, which we're about to get into, and keeping that ship in top shape is of course important. We're going to be finding scrap from spaceship battles, or potentially even just buying it, which will allow you to repair your ship in case of damage from enemy ships or just simply traveling through the warp, on top of finding all sorts of upgrades to weapons, engines, shields, etc. that make your ship perform better both in combat and the occasional text event. So upgrading your ship is also quite important. Now this brings us to the gameplay and world section of the video. as the, I would say, world of Warhammer 40k is deep. While I have created a lore primer that covers the base subjects, there's a lot to know about Warhammer 40k, and I think the game does an accurate job of reflecting that. Owlcat worked pretty closely both with the IP holder, Games Workshop, and several other people involved in the lore space for this, so it's perhaps unsurprising that the game is pretty faithful to what Warhammer 40k is, which I'm sure fans of that will love. I myself found it quite enjoyable, though if any of that is intimidating or you don't know much about that setting, in addition to my lore primer, you can actually find an encyclopedia in-game that will break down individual terms and how things work, how people interact, and it's all pretty convenient. So at least in that regard, the game isn't very intimidating in any way in regards to its setting, and I think it does an accurate job of teaching you a wide swath of information about what the setting is comprised of, which is certainly nice to see. Now, on a more practical level, when it comes to moving and navigating your way through the Coronis Expanse, that is primarily done, of course, with our Void ship, but it can be broken up into a few different parts. Now, there is the, I would say, ground level, where us and our party are actually on the ground, walking around, engaging with people, taking part in combat where necessary, etc. But once you're done in a given area, you're eventually going to need to leave, which typically also involves leaving the planet. This brings up our system map. This is an individual solar system where you can move around, scan planets, run into other ships for ship combat perhaps.
Oh, fucking just like Mass Effect. That's cool. I will say the best feature of this game is fully automatic weapons, but not for the reason you might think. Nothing's funnier than a guardsman who sets up, aims at you, then accidentally guns down their commander instead, since it's so inaccurate. Damn.
Or simply talking to them, just to name a few different things. This is very, I would say, Mass Effect in...
Exactly! Fucking exactly.
Nature, where you can go through, scan planets, see what's on them, look for interesting things to explore, either optional or for main objectives, with landing on that planet where applicable really only being a small contained area that is very, I would say, to the point. However, we're not done yet, because just above that we have the, I would say, world, for lack of a better term, map, where we can see the entirety of the Coronis Expanse and the many solar systems we can travel between. In order to travel from solar system to solar system, however, we have to use the warp, which is a dangerous endeavor, and to reflect that in-game, we have to chart courses showing the safe warp routes to our objective. These individual routes, however, can be either incredibly dangerous, just generally dangerous, unsafe, or safe. That is to say, green through red, with red being the most hazardous, orange resulting in a fight almost all the time, unsafe being generally okay but often involving text events, and safe being uneventful. Now, generally speaking, you want to get your routes down to yellow, not green. Yellow allows you to run into events that can give you more navigator's insight, for instance, that will make making the rest of the route safer that much easier. Navigator's insight is what we're going to earn for charting new courses or running into specific events that give you more. You then spend that navigator's insight on reducing the danger level of individual routes. However, while you will be charting courses and finding all of these routes on your own, it is actually possible with Navigator's Insight to chart more specific routes directly from one solar system to the next, but it is expensive to do so, and I wouldn't recommend it in most cases. But if you're looking to create a shortcut from two systems you have to travel all the time, you can do that. You simply have to know where they both are. You just click one that is not actually connected via a route you know, and then you spend 3 Navigator's Insight to create a dangerous connection, and then you can spend more Navigator's Insight to make that a safe route, which I thought was cool, and as far as I know, the game doesn't actually explain that anywhere, which is why I wanted to mention it. Now, on the ground level, things are a little more, I would say, traditional CRPG in many respects, though you can enter the ship bridge, which is where a lot of interactions with your companions are going to take place. This acts as a sort of main hub on your ship, where you can speak to companions, learn more about them. Many events take place here, and later on it will even be changed a bit to reflect your individual conviction paths. Now, off the ship bridge, but on an actual planet, much of the gameplay is, I would say, typical Owlcat stuff, where you're in charge of up to to a party of 6, you can change their formation from the game's main menu, which is a little bit awkward. Rather than a specific submenu, you have to pull up the options menu, and then you'll navigate those 6 people through potentially traps, hazardous effects, and while there's no like stealth option or anything, positioning your characters can occasionally be important in order to avoid them picking up wounds or traumas. Beyond that, based on your character's skills, like awareness for instance, you can discover secrets to unlock the occasional puzzle here or there, and again, just very traditional CRPG stuff. Overall though, I would say many of the gameplay and the world of it is solid. I enjoy what they did in terms of representing Warhammer 40k for the most part. I think the warp travel system is easy enough to get your head around, and then when you're actually on the ground, the bulk of the more familiar systems for the genre are there as well. But that finally brings us to combat, the exciting part, if you will, and I think Owlcat has done some interesting things with the combat system in this one.
Okay, I'm gonna take a quick little break because like I've been sitting down for 1 hour now. I'm just gonna go BRB and be back with you guys in like literal a minute or two. So be right back. And I am back. And to signalize I am back. Oh, that's fine. Don't wanna take up much of the screen. But I might be a little bit too dark. Okay, that's too bright on the other hand. I'll, fuck it, I will leave it like that. I look a little bit orange, but the sun is gonna go down like probably before I end this video, so fuck it, I will leave it that way. And to signalize I'm back, I'm gonna crack open this can, which probably will be very loud. Nice. Map is good, all cats do very good work with art. I mean, yeah, like between Pathfinder and this, holy fuck, their art is actually so solid, from what I've seen at least. Now I want to replay it. I mean, you can, from what this reviewer has said. This is a pretty dense game, so you can probably do like a different path, different conviction maybe. Ugh, 2 energy drinks in the evening. Okay, but to my in my defense, right? That first one that I drank was it had just a little bit at the bottom. I was basically finishing it for my GF, who left it for me, and this one I'm not gonna probably finish. I'm gonna drink like half of it, so it's gonna equal out to 1 energy drink. But I did drink a coffee before that too. Listen, I'm giving my heart a workout, okay? I take magnesium to strengthen my heart, to give it a workout to strengthen it. That's how it works, right? Heart is a muscle, right? It's a workout, right? I'm just fucking kidding. I do tend to watch out for like my caffeine intake and things like that, and I think I'm doing a pretty good job with things like that. Man, my mother actually drinks crazy amount of coffee, but like I just can't convince her that she drinks literally too much coffee. She's like the only person I know who drinks basically an evening coffee, like when it's, you know, like it's 4 hours till bedtime or something like that, and she usually uh, she usually drinks a coffee to that, which is crazy to me. Like 5 hours before going to bed, drinking a coffee, that's insanity. Well, more like 4 in her case, which yeah, like I would just not go to sleep at that point. Well, drinking coffee is not. I too drink coffee like this. Oh man, I don't know. I just have trouble going. I even if I drink something like less coffee intensive, um, like tea, for example, I I get really bad shakes when I get into bed. Uh, like if ants were crawling all over me. Very unpleasant. Wouldn't that also wake you up in the middle of the night to use the washroom? Yeah, that's uh, My significant other, like, wakes up in the middle of the night all the time, and she doesn't drink, like, coffee at all. So I never got up. I never had to, like, wake up and go to the bathroom. That's such a weird concept to me. And also, I would just, like, hate having to literally stand up from the bed in the middle of the night. Anyway, back to Rogue Trader. Review after 100%ing it by MandaloreGaming. This guy, by the way, this guide is really solid. Yeah, I need to, like, check out the rest of his content, because it seems like he knows what he is talking about.
That is a turn-based affair. There is no real-time option, and it is based on movement points and action points. Every turn, your character will have a set amount of movement points and action points they can spend on abilities and attacking. Now, most attacks will get rid of your movement points, not allowing you to go any farther, and then also force you to no longer be able to attack, but rather just be able to use abilities. Now, at the core of this, that system means that a lot of what you're going to be doing is buffing your characters with various abilities before actually making your attacks. Now, a little later on, thanks to things like the Officer, you can grant yourself extra turns and a ton of stacking effects that make you able to take many attacks and many turns, but it is something you have to be aware of. Now, probably the coolest thing about it, though, is the momentum and the heroic act. Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader and Warhammer 40k at its core is all about over-the-top coolness, the rule of cool, if you will, and to that end, in Rogue Trader, there's a lot of little enemies that are designed to be killed in one hit. Doing so will often increase your character's momentum. When the momentum bar to the right of your character's portrait in combat here either raises to a certain point or drops to a certain point, you can activate either a heroic act or a desperate measure. They are the same thing, just opposite ends of the momentum bar. The heroic act is heavily based on your archetypes available to you, though you will have a choice between a few towards the end of the game, and then you can use that heroic act once per character per combat to unleash devastating abilities on bigger enemies, which allows you to take them out. Now, the nuance to this is all of the stacking effects and maximizing the action economy. This system, I would say, is reactive more than it is proactive. That is to say, you don't need to pre-buff before fights or anything. You do all of that in combat, but there are a lot of effects and things you want to buff a character with before attacking, which can still be a little bit tedious, though it is easier than Pathfinder because you can do it in combat.
Oh man, he literally did the thing you were talking about. He swung at a guy twice, killed him, moved, swung at two different guys, moved, and now he's swinging at a fourth fucking guy. That is a lot of movement for one turn and a lot of swinging. God damn. I will say, even without saves coming, this game is about 20 to 30% loading screen. That is a lot of loading screens. Holy. I will go now. Maybe good luck, guys. Yeah. Thanks for all the support, man. Hope you have a good day. Keep in mind, one of those heroic abilities might as well be called immediately win the combat with no penalty to yourself. Then you get 2 more of those turns before round 2. Oh my god, that is a lot of fucking effects working in your favor. I wonder how the game, like, counterbalances this.
Now, by far the easiest way to approach this system is taking advantage of the extra turns. One of the archetypes, the Officer, is capable of giving characters extra turns. Their heroic act just gives them a full extra turn, and they can often completely rid themselves of attack per turn limits, if you will. That is to say, they can attack basically as much as they have action points. And combining the officer's abilities with other buffs can see a character getting probably like 4 or 5 turns in a row at maximum boosts to their damage and things like that to deal just outrageous damage. And unsurprisingly, that's where a lot of, I would say, the more interesting combat stuff comes into play, is interacting with all those systems to maximize your turns on the action economy. But all of these stacking effects and constant giving of extra turns, let's say, can lead to occasional bugs. I have seen people dealing with infinite turn loops, problems with talents and abilities not stacking properly, etc. So there is quite a bit going on there, but still much more manageable than something like Pathfinder. Overall, as a core system, I really enjoy this approach to turn-based combat. Being able to just destroy a bunch of little enemies, build up momentum, and then sort of just unleash on the main boss or larger enemies in general, if you will, combined with some cover systems, the burst fire mechanics of all sorts of weapons that allow you to do things like mow down huge swaths of enemies with automatic weapons, for instance, can make for a lot of really interesting gameplay. And because of that, I do enjoy the combat system of Rogue Trader. Really, my only complaint remains what it was in my initial review, in that due to the very large number of enemies on screen, combat can be a bit slow. And while you can speed that up, which on keyboard is default the space button, there are still so many enemies on screen that even speeding it up might cause you some problems of just like not seeing what enemies are doing, etc. Not to mention that the default speed up key is actually also the key to end your turn on PC, which means you'll probably want to change that if you want to go that route. Basically, my point being that it's not a perfect solution to the problem that the game is a little bit slow in turn-based mode, though they have done some things to alleviate that. Broad strokes, though, I think it's great. I think the combat system fits the setting almost perfectly, and you can do a lot of really cool stuff with it. Much like many other more specific subjects, I do have a dedicated video about this if you want more information, where I go a lot more granular and talk about specific effects in detail, such as recoil on weapons, how armor, etc. stacks, all that jazz. Again, really cool system overall. A couple notes I want to amend to the end of the combat section here really are mercs, respecking, and healing. If you want to make a custom party or respec your character, that is available via an NPC on your ship bridge, your factatum as a matter of fact, and at the cost of profit factor, you can in fact respec, though the first few are free, though this will not completely reset your character. For instance, your companions are taken down to their sort of base abilities, and then you can go in different directions from there. This is to retain some of their lore-specific information, and you yourself can't, for instance, change like your home world or your origin, as those things are baked into the game and how dialogue and things like that work. But should you want to redo any of your choices, it is possible to a degree. Now, when it comes to healing in combat, healing is not a big focus overall, as you will heal to full health after combat is over, though there are a handful of abilities that will affect your health, or your wounds as it's called, in combat and make you a little more survivable, but generally speaking, you're not going to be doing a lot of healing mid-combat. What you do have to deal with, however, is wounds and traumas. When your character takes a certain amount of damage based on the difficulty in a single round, they will potentially incur a wound, or if they get hit by like a trap or something, and if you get enough wounds, they turn into traumas. Traumas are very big negative factors on your characteristics or your stats in some way. They make that character less effective overall, and the only way to remove traumas is to go back to your ship. Now, in most cases, you can do this freely, but there are a few times where it's not available. If you just have a wound, that can be removed by a med kit, and this is how they keep you from just doing terribly in combat and pushing on and on and on. So it will limit you a little bit, but it is overall a very lenient system. Speaking of combat, however, we do need to talk about ship combat. In addition to ground combat, occasionally you will be up against other enemy ships in your flagship, and this system works a little bit differently. For starters, your void ship has to take all of its movement in a turn.
I wanted to ask, because I'm very unfamiliar with Pathfinder and this. Basically, I'm unfamiliar with the works of this studio. There is a lot of text when characters are talking. I would say there is a fuck ton of text when characters are talking. Is all of that voiced? Or is it a Disco Elysium situation? At first, at least, Disco Elysium was like that, where not everything was voiced, only like a couple of lines at first. me adjust the green screen a little bit so it's less, well, green. Not all is voiced, but is it like most? Because like obviously when you play it yourself, it doesn't. Plenty of it is the entire dialogue trees. Plenty of it, an entire dialogue tree can be voiced, but certainly not all. Okay, that's still pretty good then. I'm just thinking like from like a streaming perspective, like Mechanicus, for example, is a little bit of a pain to stream because I have to read literally everything because none of the things are voiced. So just like from that perspective, I kind of had this thought when I saw this wall of text that this character basically said.
Movement is divided into 3 phases, which is mostly important for the activation of certain abilities at certain times. How far your ship can move, what weapons it has available to it, etc. is down to the equipment you have on your ship, as we discussed in the progression systems, but the ship also has several posts that you need to assign your companions to maximize their benefits, but also to be able to use the individual abilities associated with that post. As your ship, when you participate in space combat, will be leveling up, much like all of your other characters, which allows you to unlock extra abilities, effects, etc. that can then be utilized. Now, towards the end of the game, your ship becomes a bit of a powerhouse if you've been upgrading it fully, and earning reputation with the Imperial Navy, which gives you the best equipment possible. But this, combined with ultimates for your ship, can make you a bit of a wrecking crew. It's also possible through your colony management to get an escort ship that follows you around and helps you engage in a lot of this combat at the same time. But what makes this especially unique is that while your abilities and things will have cooldowns, you can use your ship's weapons pretty much once per turn. That is to say, you can use every weapon your ship has once per turn, which lets you fire all the time. You can fire, then move then fire, then move some more, etc. So how you attack enemies is largely down to how you have customized your ship, so to speak, in terms of its weapons and abilities. But a fully upgraded ship is capable of doing an intense amount of attacking when it comes to other ships, and you really need to make use of all of that if you want to be good at ship combat. That said, you can turn the difficulty of ship combat specifically down if you still don't want to deal with it very much. Overall, I liked the ship combat system. It kind of grew on me. It was very bare bones in the alpha and beta versions of this game, but over time I think they polished it up and made it pretty fun. Though I recognize it's not the kind of thing that's going to be for everybody. I wound up enjoying it a lot more than I thought I was going to based on my initial dealings with it all the way back in the earlier versions of the game.
That's fair. It does look like a little bit of a gimmick. Ship combat is the only part of the game that can actually be hard at first. It gets way easier when you get your first gun upgrades. Yeah, like I said, I think this is more of a gimmick, and this will be a part of a game that people just simply like either like or dislike. Just like Pathfinder had those like Heroes of Might and Magic sections and sections where you are actually building up your town. I imagine it's like this, where it will not appeal to all of the people that the base game will appeal to.
Does finally bring us to the Steam Deck portion of this review before we start wrapping it up, and the Steam Deck for Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader is a real mixed bag. It does not have an official rating, but I would say it's probably going to get a playable rating. It does have controller support, which goes a long way for the Steam Deck, and truth be told, when it comes to actually
well, this is not going to be a section for me because I don't fucking own a Steam Deck.
Moving your character around the maps, I've got to say the controller portion of that feels great. great. Now, the game does also have cloud saves, but this is where things start to get a little weird because I had a lot of trouble getting the cloud saves to work properly. That is to say, getting them all to show up. Oftentimes it would only pull my latest save from my PC as opposed to all of my saves. Another thing here is that for whatever reason, anytime I would try to load a save from my PC on the Steam Deck, it would simply fail to do so and not let me play it. Now, I could start a new game and play that on the Steam Deck, but already the loss of that sort of interchangeability between your PC and Steam Deck is going to cut into how much you're going to be able to play a very large game on just the Steam Deck alone. And then there's how the game actually runs. It's pretty hit or miss. Some cutscenes were really choppy and then others were fine. Actually running around individual areas seems to be okay, and this is with the settings turned all the way down, and then I was still running into some choppiness. There is, however, a text scaler in the game's menus, the accessibility options, so you can actually blow up some of the smaller text, which I was a little concerned about going into it. So altogether, as of right now, can you play this on the Steam Deck? Yes, but I would argue it's the worst version of that experience at the moment, which is mostly due to, I would say, clearly not being designed with the Steam Deck in mind. Now, if I'm being honest, do I want to play this on the Steam Deck? Not really. Can you? Yes. But that brings us to our positives and negatives. Now, my positives for this game between my launch review and now largely remain the same. I think the story is really cool. I like how it all came together in the end and brought all these loose plot threads together in ways I wasn't expecting. I think the options you'll make during that story are particularly cool, and seeing the difference between iconoclast, heretical, and dogmatic options and how both companions and the world at large response to those individual things has a lot of potential, and that combined with the very deep setting of Warhammer 40k leaves you with a CRPG that has a lot to love, and I think that's why, in spite of the bugs, this game is still sitting on a mostly positive user review score over on Steam. However, we do, of course, have our negatives. By far and away, the biggest problem this game has right now is bugs. I do think this will eventually be fixed. Owlcat has shown themselves to be pretty committed to the long-term support of their titles outside of Kingmaker, which they no longer have the rights to. But nonetheless, the game does have some serious bugs that you may or may not encounter. I myself didn't...
I didn't know they don't own Kingmaker anymore. What the fuck?
See a lot of them just on my first playthrough, for instance. Another issue is that combat can be a bit slow in plotting just because of the sheer amount of enemies you're dealing with and all of the stacking of various effects you need to put on a character before you really make a move with them, and while that can all be done in combat, does slow things down a little bit. So while there are speed up options, combat compared to something like Real Time with Pause in Owlcat's previous work is going to be a bit slower. And while that's not really a deal breaker, it can just make especially smaller fights feel really tedious, where you have to do all this wind up just to knock out some enemies that you know you're going to destroy. And then there's the companions. For me, most of the companions were a miss. I'm sure plenty of people love them, but a lot of them just felt either contradictory, uninteresting, or just outright hostile that made dealing with them more of a headache than fun. There was one or two that I enjoyed, but for me, the cast of characters here just wasn't something that ever really grew on me, and I wish a lot of them had more growth or characterization in many ways, because as it stands, it really does feel to me that Games Workshop came in and told them what they could and couldn't do in this regard, which, while understandable for the protection of their IP, I suppose, makes it feel like a different quality of writing compared to their previous work. And last but not least for the negative, something I probably should have talked a little more about over the course of the review, but I did mention previously, is that the pacing for the game can be a little bit weird in places because you have free roam to go to all of these solar systems kind of right out of the gate. It's easy to stumble onto things you shouldn't be fighting because many of them are actually situated in the earlier solar systems right near where you start exploring at, which can lead you to a fair few problems, because realistically what you should do is go do some other stuff and then come back, but I think it can cause a bit of a difficulty spike as you transition from the end of Act 1 into the start of Act 2 and start exploring more. And while you can certainly work around it, and if that's you're running into that, obviously go do and explore some other stuff that's easier and come back to it later. Personally, I actually kept a little notepad of interesting encounters in various space systems that I had to come back to when I was a little bit more leveled up. Now, I think personally that is a problem that is likely caused by their approach to the prologue. Regardless of the difficulty you have the game set on, the prologue is actually more or less the same difficulty once you get to daring and higher. And then after the prologue, the game actually starts ramping up to your selected difficulty, and this is to allow people to actually get through unfair without tearing their hair out in the prologue. But I think it does cause some problems with things like difficulty spikes, especially on unfair where the skill checks are all jacked up, which can lead to some unfortunate moments in terms of pacing and how you go about exploring the places that are presented to you. Overall, though, that brings me to my conclusion. Now, when it comes to recommending Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, by far and away the biggest consideration is, do you think the amount of bugs present are going to bother you? That was true in my last review and it's true in this one, although now I would say those bugs are even more prominent once I've had the chance to explore more styles of playthrough. That said, you can get through this game. It is playable, but you're almost certainly going to run into some issues, at least as of now. So whether or not you're willing to put up with that should honestly be your...
I wonder how, like, now to... I wonder now, like 2 months later, is this like still true? Is the game like really noticeably buggy or not? Like I said, it is kind of expected. Like I said, it is kind of expected of games like of this magnitude, but for example, Fallout New Vegas is one of my favorite games of all time. It's impossible to make that game fucking run properly. It crashes so often without like any mods or anything. It's so fucking junk. This doesn't seem like it has that magnitude of issues, but I wonder like how noticeable the bugginess is. Oh, it got a little bit darker. I need to do something with the brightness. There we go. It is still noticeably buggy as I play it right now. Nothing really game breaking though. I've had one crash only. Okay, that seems fair. Difficulty spikes are a major issue. I got into a nearly impossible to win ship battle right away. Damn.
Biggest deciding factor at the moment. Moving past just that though, I would say that in many ways I think Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader is a great CRPG. It does a lot of really cool things. It brings you to this setting and puts you in a very unique position within the Imperium that allows for a lot of really cool roleplay options and situations that are unique. But I think that is unfortunately let down by a few characters that I think just don't quite lived up to what I had hoped they could be, as they don't really grow or change in any way. And while you can certainly chalk some of that up to the IP, to me it does feel like a fair bit of lost potential. So while I think Rogue Trader is great and you should check it out, which of course means I give it a buy, I also don't think it's Owlcat's best work even if you ignore the bugs, which is mostly down to the characters and the writing. Not to mention that it's quite a bit less ambitious, with your 3 conviction paths as opposed to like 10 mythic paths in Wrath, which makes it overall feel a little less grand in scale. So in conclusion, Rogue Trader is a great game, you can have a lot of fun with it, and I certainly did, to be clear, but I don't think it quite reaches the heights of Owlcat's previous games. But
I mean, to be fair, Pathfinder set the bar like into the stratosphere from what Mandalore has said in his reviews. Like I said, I haven't played those games yet, so expecting like that level of open-endedness from everything those creators make is like absurd in my opinion. It is weird that a lot of characters don't change that much while they let you get away with absurd amounts of heresy. Maybe it is like the reviewer said, the Games Workshop came in and said those characters need to be like this and you cannot make them sway to protect like the IP. maybe is what happened.
At a price point of $50 US.
But yeah, at the same time, the fucking heresy is such a giant like elephant in the room that goes against everything in the tabletop and in the lore. So that is weird. Like there's such a duality to it that the companions are very that the companions don't really like sway from their initial ideals, but at the same time the game ignores that you are a heretic. Weird.
And whatever that amounts to regionally, I do still think it's a worthwhile experience that manages to offer something unique. That is to say, a CRPG set in Warhammer 40k. So if you like CRPGs or you like Warhammer, you should absolutely check this out. Just be aware of the problems that I've covered over the course of this review. With all of that said though, I think that's about where it's time to wrap this particular video up, so I certainly hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz, but regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.
Okay, that was a really great video. For me, it boils down to this seems like, excuse me, for me it boils down to one thing. This seems like the best game, the best Warhammer 40k game you can have when it comes to learning more about the setting, because that's what I'm really interested in, is that yeah, I really want to learn more about Warhammer and not necessarily go into like books or like lore write-ups, right? Games seem to be ideal medium for me to learn about this franchise. And as I'm playing Mechanicus, I'm like, there isn't like anything special happening, like broadening my understanding of the lore. All the other games don't seem to do that as well. So, and this one seems like it really gets you into that setting and explains like a lot about the different factions. Like there so many fucking races were mentioned that I wasn't expecting them to show up like at all in the story. It's definitely a great tool to learn about the setting. It will even have a quick dictionary if you're not certain what terms mean. Oh yeah, he mentioned that. You push triangle over highlighted word and it will have a quick explanation. That is really fucking cool. Let me see some of the comments under this video. Also, I will be sure to like it because that was fucking cool. The fact that you dodged game-breaking bugs by purging the heretics sounds just like the Emperor wanted it to be. The Omni-Messiah. The Omnisciah works in mysterious ways, brother. To be fair, when I played Rogue Trader TRPG, my Rogue Trader also kept around companions who were cardboard cutouts of their faction and incredibly dangerous to keep around them and likely to sell you out to the Dark Eldar at the drop of a hat. They were called the other player characters! Oh my fucking god. Oh. Having Abelard introduce me to everyone amused me much more than pretty much any other RPG dialogues in a long time. My biggest complaint is not having options to change companion convictions like in Wrath of the Righteous, where you could take them down the light or dark path, so to speak. Especially since they give you multiple morality paths to follow. It felt like you just had to take the companions that pre-fit those paths rather than having them change along with you. That does seem like a big issue. Before I forget, an ASO and less than a minute video was made showing an homage with Total War trailer. Just search Total War Predator trailer and it should pop right up. Let me get on that in a second. First, I just want. Oh fuck. First, I just wanted to see what the fuck happened with the Pathfinder. Like, how did the developers lose their rights to Pathfinder? I'm very interested in hearing that. And second of all, let me take a quick peek at Rogue Traders. Can I just do that real quick? I want to take a quick peek at Rogue Traders Steam page. Okay, so all reviews are mostly positive, and like recent reviews from past 30 days are very positive with 83%. Okay. What the fuck? It's clear that the team that made this had a great understanding of 40k lore, like all OrCat products. It shows great love for what makes 40k what it is, while also providing lore-friendly options for newcomers of the setting to ease into grim darkness of the 41st millennium. The characters all are introduced in great fashion and feel well fleshed out in chapter 1. If the whole game played like chapter 1, this would be a very different review. Okay. Buggy, okay. The front 1/3 of this game is a threat to any 40k fan, but much like its setting and comparing to the okay, it only serves to highlight what the game could have been and what we lost. I gotta say, 40k fans seem really hard to please. Between this and Darktide, man. Maybe they are onto something. I didn't play the game, but you know, I would like to give a neutral score to. I have completed 1.5 runs. Like, they will put 170 hours into a game and they will unironically not recommend it. This is a single player game, mind you, but obviously that doesn't like take away from the problems they had. It's just So weird to me. Okay, this person is just silly. I give this game a 6.5 out of 10. 6.5 out of 10 is a recommend, buddy. Like 5 is a neutral score. 6 means you kinda liked it. But maybe that's more of a problem with Steam's uh, with Steam reviews. Graphics are pleasant. Be warned, the game is very wordy. Buggy, yeah, still worth playing, absolutely. So, damn, it seems like it is still pretty buggy. Don't let the rage reviews dissuade you if you're into 40k and have, like me, waited for something like this most of your life. If you're not into 40k and just like RPGs, maybe wait a bit longer and keep checking back to see how it is fixed up. Seems Warhammer fans in general are extremely picky. Yeah, that's the energy I'm picking up with. I'm picking up from this, which I gotta say, normally, fine, you are protective of your IP, right? The IP, the stories you love. That's cool. But weren't Warhammer 40k fans like pretty much fucking abused when it came to games? Like, a lot of Warhammer 40k games are just shit. And when something like actually good comes along, they still are. They don't give it the. Like, I don't think they are thankful enough towards these devs, like, when it comes to what. How good they treat this franchise, I think. In some cases. Maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, I haven't played this game. Maybe I'm completely wrong and this game is quite not that good, but doesn't seem like it, to be honest. Like, it seems just like a solid RPG that is set in this universe. Okay, all cut games. Pathfinder, I wanna see those. Okay, there is like a article about it. Owlcat Games lost rights to Pathfinder Kingmaker and stopped receiving revenue from it after going independent. Many fans wondered why Owlcat stopped updating Pathfinder Kingmaker. It turns the studio lost the rights to its first title 3 years ago. Oh, fuck. Rights remained with parent company. Wrath of the Righteous doesn't have that problem. Oh, so it's only the original game. Gotcha. That's so weird. But not uncommon. I mean, there's a lot of fuckery. There's a lot of fuckery when it comes to making video games. I mean, if you know anything about Disco Elysium, Zaum, the company like that employed the artists who made Disco Elysium, fucked them over in the worst way possible. Okay. This is not even mentioned here. So weird. So they couldn't like squash all the bugs when they went independent. But this is pretty much limited to their first game, which is some silver lining, I guess. I was just going to write about Disco Elysium. Yeah, man, that's so sad. I love Disco Elysium, man. I think standards get risen because of how the stories are told in the initial army books. You know how FromSoft tells you its lore in Dark Souls series? That is how Warhammer has always told its lore. The presentation has always been great, and because of that, it is very easily to get immersed in the setting. And I suppose when you're that invested, you get more picky when it comes to the story. You know what? You may be right. Yeah, I think you may be absolutely right. It's just like people who are really used to the tabletop and like read the books that are really good, right? And read the lore tidbits that are like some of the peak of the series. It would be, and obviously presentation is the whole deal about Warhammer because it's fucking figurines and the presentation is just top notch. So I guess it would make sense that those people are used to such a high standard that they don't that it's hard to appeal to them. And from what I heard, Warhammer 40k fans are very used to fighting Games Workshop being kinda scammy. So they push back on anything that they considered like unfinished or shady or overpriced that comes like from their relationship with Games Workshop, I assume. I will say that when the Souls games come out, I didn't think there was anything special about the presentation because I grew up with Warhammer. But people who didn't thought it was amazing. Yeah, I genuinely like I do think like Souls games, how they present their stories, how they look, especially the first one. The first one is so climactic to me. Um, I do think they are amazing. And when I say presentation, I mean how the game tells you overall lore in the setting and how it sets everything up. Yeah, like I said, that's part of it. Um, and you might be right on the money. I never experienced anything like that in a video game before, or any other medium. So I guess like so I guess it might have like more profound effect on me personally. But of course, there's the second part, which is it's a video game, you know, and Dark Souls is a fantastic fucking video game, and Rogue Trader seems to be like a really good video game too. Um, but for Warhammer fans, they also play a game on the tabletop, right? And it may be also another point of conflict that oh this doesn't follow the tabletop rules or this is less fun than the tabletop. So yeah, now that I think about it, it would be a fucking challenge to please those people by making a video game because they kinda sorta have gameplay, you know. Usually, when you adapt something into a video game from other media, you don't have that problem because there is no fucking gameplay to a movie, book, comic, whatever. So you don't have that issue. But when it comes to tabletops, there is gameplay, and you have to like factor that in sorta when you're making a video game. The game is nothing like the tabletop, so play it for a different experience. Of course, it's a different thing. Just based on the fact that you play the tabletop against another player, that is immediately a different world than a game where you just fucking beat on NPCs, right? And stuff. But yeah, but they do have like certain gameplay experience associated with this IP, so it is definitely like I said, probably harder to appeal to them. But that's enough about Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. I really enjoyed this review. I will definitely look into the game, see what's happening with it, like see what's the situation when it comes to price, DLCs, and everything else. Rogue Trader has multiplayer. Holy fuck! Seriously? Damn! Too bad this guy didn't talk about it at all. I think whoever wins is who goes first. Damn, that doesn't sound too good. And moving on, we have Advent Rising review by MandaloreGaming. This thing is, I absolutely recommend it on sale. No, if I said, oh, okay. Oh, if Rogue Trader had multiplayer, okay. Okay, I understand it now. Yeah, seems like a quality game. I will definitely, like I said, look into it. Maybe, it's probably not that great for like let's play purposes, so I probably won't play it on the channel. But I will leave all of those options on the table until the time comes to actually decide about it. Oh yeah. Forgot about the trailer. Sorry. What was it? Warhammer Total War Predator trailer. Total War Predator trailer. You mean this comparison? Top one, okay. Okay, that's really fucking cool. I never noticed it was like literally a giant reference. Also, I gotta say just the fucking making this fucking lizard chameleon thing that's an assassin like the Predator is like top tier idea. That's cool. I when I saw that trailer, when I was watching like all the Total War trailers, it did feel different, and I wanted to say something about it, but like after they revealed like the fucking chameleon guy, I was like, oh yeah, that okay, they tried something different with their trailer or whatever. But I did not realize it's a straight up an actual whole ass homage to the Predator. That's really cool. Yeah, I also think that's great, man. Moving on to something different, we have Advent Rising review by MandaloreGaming. This is this is also a sci-fi game, I suppose. From what I remember, it's a piece of shit. But I played it when I was a teenager, and I gotta say I don't remember much of it. I saw that Mandalore has like reviewed it, and Mandalore reviewed a lot of games I played when I was younger, and those are always great. Like his Ghostmaster review was such a blast from the past to me. So I really wanted to see this. From what I remember, this game was trying really hard to like copy Halo, but I don't know if that's just my memory fuckery or if that's actually like something that is going on in game. So yeah, let's get into this. Let's get into this video and see what Mandalore has to say.
Monsters! The monsters! Oh! I can't.
Okay, I immediately see this jeep riding section, and that literally fucking looks like Warthog from Halo, so I think I answered my question right away.
It's 2005. I'm sitting in a movie theater for Revenge of the Sith, which will confuse me in a lot of ways. But before all that, a trailer played for Advent Rising. At the time, this blew my mind. I had never seen a trailer for a video game in a movie theater before. My friends told me they had only seen that happen before with Halo 2. It seemed like a big deal, and that connection's not a coincidence. The game started to be known as the Halo Killer. It even outright said it would be the start of a trilogy of games.
God.
To make it even more legit, it would be written by Orson Scott Card. His name was all over any copy of the game. And for a sci-fi game, it should be. The man wrote Ender's Game. Schools here still have that as required reading sometimes. But not my class. Oh no, I had to read a book where what happened? I think a Jewish kid gets hit with a baseball, and I don't remember the rest, but whatever. Ender's
I loved how you could kick characters of a ship and they would fall to the floor of the space, you know, the vacuum of space. I remember it being more similar to Star Wars cash grabs. Oh man, I forgot all about the Orson Scott Card. I really have like minimal memories pertaining to Advent Rising. The only thing I remember is that it came to me personally in a Polish gaming magazine, one of those that sold bootleg video games that were not officially licensed. So just this game appearing there already fucking says something. And I played like maybe 3 hours of it, and at some point I just fucking gave up as a child, so I don't have like any vivid memories of like the combat or whatever.
game is great, and the sequel is
And the story, like I don't remember anything about the story, man.
just as good in other ways. Some people think it's even better. After that, you have Xenocide. It has interesting ideas, but not as exciting as the title would make you think. Then Children of the Mind is... It's different. There are spin-off books too. Wow, look at those. The Steam page now says working with Orson Scott Card, which, as we'll talk about, is much more accurate. The trilogy never happened, and you should know how Halo killers go. It ran horribly on Xbox, but now on PC it's pretty good. The one thing that's choppy everywhere is some of the cutscenes. It's the video files themselves, and the lip syncing can be rough. There's actually a mod that re-edits most of the cutscenes, fixes some bugs, and adds widescreen support. Fortunately, I talked to GOG about it and they just integrated it into the base game. Steam has it too, so no need to monkey with downloads. So good on Advent Revising for doing that. I can start the game with no hassle.
Orson Scott Card had some books where if they came out today, they would raise a lot of eyebrows. We're talking Chris Hansen territory. What the fuck? Mainly it was this weird one about a guy's ghost sister he dates, sleeps with, who was controlled by a little girl. What the fuck? I had no idea. I never read anything by Orson Scott Card. But that sounds wild.
Well, okay then.
Interesting.
Okay, the real story starts here. You play as Gideon Wyeth, and honestly I kept forgetting his name. I keep wanting to call him Terry because it's the Batman Beyond voice actor.
Do you always make your approaches upside down?
Hey, Ethan. You know that this view is one of my favorite things about being a pilot?
So Gideon's brother Ethan is a hotshot pilot and war hero. He fought in something called the Independence Wars, which I assume was some kind of breakaway thing since they're by a faraway alien planet, but I'm not too sure. What is important is that humanity is in the middle of first contact.
Wait till you see the alien ship with your own eyes. The vids they've been showing don't do it justice.
Whoa. How big is this thing?
It's big. Watch out for secondaries from the alien vessel. Their activity back and forth from the surface has been increasing. CNC is still trying to figure out why.
Copy that. Starting my... Whoa.
Good timing there. The music swells and the Kmart Covenant are here. They do seem peaceful, so once you pilot your ship into the human space station, the game begins. Well, Gideon looks like a noodle person. Actually, all of humanity look like noodle people. And you've got this Jak and Daxter-like NBA high jump, so you go, oh, this must be like an adventure platformer. Then you go to training, and it turns out that Gideon knows gun kata.
Yeah,
And this is before he gets space magic. But
I sorta remember this fucking gameplay. I remember like the slow-mo being really obnoxious and not good at all.
I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. I'll start with the graphics. On a technical level, for an Xbox game, it's pretty decent, especially considering how big some of these maps can get. Looking back, Advent Rising struggling to run on the Xbox makes a lot of sense. The character models are still detailed, and the game has some really cool shader effects, which does make it weird when they're lined up next to the kind of blocky looking textures. It makes me wonder why they made these scenes so big instead of just scaling it back and improving what they had. Well, I do have a guess. Most Halo killers I've played really want to be Halo. It's clear from the intro with the big purple ship and the epic orchestra music, but then you fight the evil aliens who have different colors based on their rank. You know, red, blue, elite, gold ones. They use energy weapons while humanity still uses bullets. These are just broad strokes. There's a lot more weird specific examples. But by the time you get to the first not warthog section, it's very clear this
That's just a fucking warthog, man. What the fuck?
game wouldn't be how it was without Halo. Except in Halo, the AI can actually drive you. I mean, it's fine to be inspired by things, and Halo certainly was. But as the game goes on, it just becomes kind of funny how blatantly they're doing it. So you have these grassy fields with rocks and strange alien structures. It's way bigger than Halo. It is larger, but drab and pointless. The more confined maps generally look and play so much better. They take advantage of the mechanics instead of throwing you into a big field to own zone some aliens. Some are for vehicle sections, but again, the bigger the map, the more barren the actual gameplay is. It is possible there was meant to be way more stuff here, but it was cut down for the Xbox. I don't know. The actual character art style is another mystery. The people have these cartoony, exaggerated forms, but nothing else in the game is like that. The design of everything else and the tone is going for realism. Now, I admit this could just be because Orson Scott Card's name was all over this game, but I feel a strange kind of disconnect that I can't quite put my finger on. I don't hate it or anything, it's just kind of odd to me. I would have liked if they embraced the unique art style. I'm not sure what this was going for. The environments have a clean, kind of 70s sci-fi look to them. A lot of people have said it reminds them of Mass Effect 1, and I agree. Doubly so when you get space magic and get some of the same biotic powers. Some people say Mass Effect copied them, but on this one I don't think so. Everyone knows what Star Wars is, and Jedi Academy had been out for a few years now. Advent Rising has a very vanilla flavor of space magic. It is interesting there was also going to be a trilogy where decisions would carry over through save importing, but as you know, that didn't happen. As a Los Angeles CSI member would say, I think there's some DNA here, but I can't tell how much. Oh right, the shadows. Don't try to turn dynamic shadows on. I tried for ages to fix them, but the only thing I could do was get some blob shadows to work, and that only happened when they felt like it. Turns out they only work on a specific ATI card from 2003, so good luck. As for the sound
fuck?
design, it's also decent. The weapons have a good variety of effects, and it adds some impact to the combat. I do like the silly whoosh effects when you're reloading or flipping or anything else really.
I remembered wrong, this is way more of a Halo wannabe than I recalled. Yeah. I think what's crazy is that I played this first, and then like years later I played Halo, which is fucking insane when I think back to that, because obviously I only played PC things because I didn't own a fucking Xbox. Or no, I owned a PlayStation at that point. I just wasn't interested in playing it for some reason.
That's a good feature. Very welcome. The voice acting is good, and I do have to give them bonus points. They are working with some rough dialogue.
I'm supposed to believe that there are not only one, but two advanced alien species out there with a simultaneous interest in little old Edamea. I mean, millions of years go by without so much as a hello there from the great beyond, and for some reason, they both picked today to come out of the closet?
Yeah, that is some very rough dialogue.
Oh, this is too good.
You destroyed my world.
Dear, the little savage is upset. I have personally slain more of your pitiful kind than ever lived on that sad little rock you call home. You are going to wish you had died with the rest of your sorry world. My kind has perfected the art of slaughtering humans, little man.
It is direction too, but this is hard to work with. It's really the random NPCs that get deep in the beans.
Haha, take that!
The most fascinating part is the music.
There's way worse Halo wannabe games you could have played. You could have played Fire Warrior. Yeah, Fire Warrior looked fucking rough, which is also a 40k game and one of the most miserable experiences I have ever had. I seen Mandalore's review of Fire Warrior. It doesn't look good. I'm just not gonna sugarcoat it. It looked fucking terrible.
Music is genuinely amazing. Like, the gap between quality of music and quality of game might be higher here than anything I've played outside of, like, an old Tim Fallen project. The issues come in with how they use it. Let's look at some cutscene clips where they have complete control of what's happening.
What? Oh my god, he's so fucking epic. He can lift that thing. He could have just grabbed. Oh my god. A floating triangle. Man, the music is so fucking good. It feels so wasted on this game.
The music really brings that grand scale the game was trying for. The problem is the music is pretty clearly separated into hype and be sad. It works out sometimes when what happens on screen matches up perfectly.
The floor's been blown out. We've got to climb down.
All good. Now imagine you're just walking through a
That's solid. That's solid right there.
hallway, or doing nothing.
That's not so much. And that's why your game needs some dynamic music, you know, when you enter combat, it changes like subtly and starts picking up. And maybe the longer the combat goes, it builds up more, you know? And not fucking static music where you're just going through corridors to like the most epic theme imaginable.
It's also a very similar melody, over and over again. Everything you're doing is just the most important thing ever. This will be my last Halo comparison, and it's an important one. Bungie knew where to use their music and how to break it up. The big exciting music is used appropriately for the moment. Here's what Advent Rising does. Marty isn't unleashing the strings
Fucking imagine if Halo was actually like this.
while you're staring at rocks. Trying to make every little thing huge ultimately makes nothing stand out. This needed some more low-key music at points, or just silence like here. Still, it's a very good soundtrack. Sometimes it does bug out and it'll play the cutscene music at the same time as the level music. It's usually so over the top that sometimes I couldn't tell, but there are cutscene controls to restart it. Except for one time it cursed me and played the healing sound over and over again. You should expect some sound bugs from time to time. Okay, my mistake. I looked up Xbox footage of this, and that is the intended sound effect. Please, continue. As you play, the gameplay does evolve
What
a bit, so I need to talk about the
fuck?
story here and there. When Terry first gets
Man, I missed old Bungie. Same. Hey, isn't it crazy that literally every single fucking company, video game company, goes down the drain with years? Without a miss. Every video game company, I thought it's gonna be forever and it's gonna be strong until the day, until hit death of the universe. They fucking went down the drain. Like, Rockstar at some point was one of the most respected studios in the fucking world. Now they just make GTA 5 all the time and remake it, or it's fucking something. Naughty Dog, after The Last of Us 1, man, was so beloved. Now, after The Last of Us 2 and all of those remakes, holy shit. BioWare! Man, BioWare! Oh! BioWare, what happened to you? Holy fuck. I'm pretty sure EA had its moment too, but it was very brief compared to those other games. Ubisoft was also at the peak of Ubisoft. People would have laughed you off the face of the earth if you said that they're gonna go down such a scumfuck route, you know. It's insane. Like, every single studio you can think of sooner or later, like, goes down in flames. Only sometimes I guess Capcom is still hanging in there. EA definitely had its moment when Lord of the Rings came out. Yeah, and also EA had like a bunch of really fucking good sports games, when sports games were actually good back in the day, which is also a whole nother fucking like a whole nother topic. Two Towers and Return of the King EA games were really good, even on Game Boy Advance. Didn't they also make that Lord of the Rings real-time strategy, or was that a different studio? That shit slapped, like War for the Middle Earth or something like that. Man, I remember playing it so much as a kid, but I don't know if EA actually made that or not. Or if it was like a different studio that helped them.
In the station, he needs to
Oh yeah, also EA did make Dead Space. Kinda.
do some weapons training. Advent Rising has a unique control scheme. In the same way there are road signs warning of unique children. On PC, you aim by using your mouse's scroll wheel to aim left or right. This is awkward, but seems like a thing you would get used to. On PC, you could have free aim and it should work out fine, but this was based around Xbox, who actually had it way worse here. Because the right stick controlled your camera and aiming, so you just want to move the camera and end up locking onto another target. It's awful here because you and the game don't always agree on what you're aiming at. When the system is working, the camera's spinning all over the place. You're quickly aiming at things behind you, things out of sight. It's already a chaotic game, so sometimes I didn't realize
Oh, the weapons were so weird in this game, that I also remember.
something was bugging out. A bad man in front of me would just stop dying. It does look sick if you don't actually get sick from the camera whipping around. It does suck to try and hit something and then you aim completely in another direction. You could get tempted to plug a controller in and try, but it's not better. Plus, if you plug one in during the game, things will really start spinning. I think this should be a controller game, but the targeting system makes that difficult. When it's working how it's intended, it can be fun. When it's not a lobotomized Drake of the 99 Dragons, it can be a unique version of Max Payne. Saying that is incredibly generous. Essentially, you level up your weapons by using them. They might just be increased effectiveness, but you can unlock alt fires and other cool stuff. This also extends to jumping and dodging. The more you flail around in combat, the better you get at it. Movements get a passive slow-mo effect added, animations change. I really appreciate when games do this over just bigger numbers. You don't go from chump to demigod though, since from the beginning, Gideon is pretty insane. I have to sprinkle some story in here. On the station, Gideon hangs out with his brother Ethan and talks to his fiancée, Girl. Girl is a scientist, so you might think she has a bigger role to play in a first contact story. But no. You're not supposed to want Girl's scientific insight, you want to be inside of her pants. I mean, Jesus, it's more than a cake, it's like the whole birthday party. At least by Code Geass Barilla Pasta people.
The David Cage way of writing female characters.
Standards. After murdering an Australian in a boss fight, you go to meet the aliens.
What?
These are the Aurelians, and they're more than just friendly. Not wanting to risk anyone important, they give Gideon the universal translator. The Aurelians aren't just here to help and trade with us, but they view humanity as gods. I don't know about you, but I find this baffling. Either the Aurelians are deeply disturbed, or they picked up some really convincing Heaven's Gate members. But they're also here to warn us of an enemy alien race, the Seekers.
They will come, and this time, they will leave no survivors.
How long do we have?
Maybe 2 days. Probably less.
2 days? What can we do in 2 days?
This is a great tragedy. You will all be killed.
What kind of weapons will they be using?
They throw rocks.
Rocks? They throw rocks?
Asteroids.
The Seekers then show up instantly, not even 2 days of prep time. They
Lamau.
attack the colony station and, true to their name, start scanning people. They're looking for something, but it's not clear what. This leads into the big and only story decision of the game. Both Ethan and Girl are hurt and you can only help one into an escape pod. It looked like a choice, but the first time I played it loaded me in already holding Girl. At first I thought it was a cut choice because I didn't want Girl, I would have saved Ethan. On playing the game again, I got to choose properly. It does spawn you right next to Girl, so I'm sure it bugged for more than one person. You crash on the planet, then need to escape it before the Seekers destroy it. You and whoever you save meet up with a new character named Captain Steel. This interaction goes way better if you have your hero brother with you.
I imagine you'd like some help prepping for takeoff?
Sure.
It looks like there may have been a turret section planned here, but instead you go right to the Aurelians. It's here that you learn how to use space magic.
I had a serious bit of whiplash. That scene in the bar was when I first turned the game off and played Nightcaster instead. Weird bit of nostalgia. That's the funniest fucking thing ever. Like, remembering something like really cool Just because you saw the shit you turned off to go do the cool thing instead. That's fucking hilarious. I think I also saved Ethan when I got back to the game. It does seem like saving the Ethan would be... It does seem like the game... The more obvious thing to do. I mean, the protagonist has literally more fucking interactions with his brother than the woman, TM.
Now, I appreciate when a story doesn't explain every stupid detail on how a power works, but they give you nothing special here.
Earlier you mentioned something. Something about hidden powers?
I am a remnant of the ancient religion, human. All of the civilized races have individuals with the seeds of this power. Our prophecies...
Okay, no one knows how it works, but they believe that the Force comes from humans. They use their downtime to show Terry silently practicing his new Mindgate conspiracy brain powers. It's like there should be a voiceover here explaining a little more about what he's doing and what's going on. Instead, they just say he's a wizard, which is really strange for a sci-fi setting like this. Who cares? You have magic now. You get to play around with it in a space battle, and then whoever you saved dies.
Lemao. Fucking classic, like, Telltale approach. Classic Telltale, like, thing where you save a person and they die immediately in the next section, so they don't have to do too much work between, like, the two versions of the game.
The powers you get are a joy and more unlock automatically as you play the game. They have the same mastery level up system too, so they get better and better. Though like the weapons, there's nothing really out there with them. You have a force push, a lift, you can shoot energy or ice, which gets really absurd in the endgame. Slow time, the Vanguard charge, there's still a lot here. Combine that with all the weapons you have and there are a lot of ways to play this game. Sadly, equipping a power does take up a weapon slot. This means no supercharging around carrying dual pistols or something like that, which I would have liked, but the controls are already weird enough as is. Even with that barrier, the game can be enjoyable. Yet, right behind the weird control layer are two more. The first being the enemy variety. They run out of new stuff to throw at you very fast, with the exception of some boss fights. Even when new things showed up, they never really altered how I played the game. The enemies and the weapons are just too similar to each other. Because on the surface it seems like there should be a lot of variety, but in practice it feels very repetitive to play. The levels I talked about before contribute to this since you just fight in a big empty plane. You'll see a big flat area full of enemies for a battle, but then you could just walk around it. I'm not sure how to word this, but enemies will frequently feel less like obstacles and more like decoration. You could run way over there to fight aliens, but it's pointless. There's not like a hidden weapon or anything like that in the maps. You'll also blatantly see allies and enemies just respawning endlessly in front of you in some parts. I like protecting NPCs in these kinds of games, but here there's no reason to. They just come back. And the enemies stay so much worse because they'll respawn 3 feet behind you. You take the camera off it and the game plops down 3, 4, 5 enemies there. And where it happens endlessly.
That's terrible.
It's not just them pouring out of a door or something. It's a shorter game too, but by the end I was so sick of the combat. If the camera spins around, you wipe out a group of enemies and can move on, then great. When it's set up like this, the camera can endlessly spin around and around as you kill enemies forever for no reason. It goes from being a space adventure into some kind of purgatory. I would guess they did this to make up for the AI, which isn't very good and breaks frequently, which leads me to the next layer of just how broken this game is. Even with a fan patch that fixes quite a few bugs integrated, they're still everywhere. The camera freaks out and locks you into an angle. An ally blocks off an elevator. Enemies getting elevators stuck, so you have to AoE to get it to move. A door you need to go through refuses to open until you restart the entire level. Stuck in a wall, stuck moonwalking, stuck hanging from my hopes and dreams. Stuck is such a frequent word. How about stuck in a first-person mode which should not exist? And of course you have your occasional crashes. This is highly unstable. But before I finish, I do want to talk a little bit more about the story. To sum it up, it's abrupt.
They have pulled back to regroup for the final onslaught. It has been the highest honor. Halt! These are ours! Status report.
We just secured the main ports and transit points of Upper Harness.
The Eastern Rebels' defenses are crumbling?
The story is paced like it's late for work. The rest of the game after the colony escape becomes escape the Aurelian homeworld and tell the Galactic Council and the Seekers. So much was said with so little happening that I actually looked on Wikipedia. These 2 sentences are over half the game, which would be fine if they weren't trying to make the story seem bigger than it is. Check out this breakneck roller coaster of tone shifting.
You know, it just occurred to me that this is the only thing I have left from home.
You mean you forgot to pack underwear? Hey, I was just kidding. Your underwear is your own business.
You can't come on this mission, Marin.
Oh, yes, I can.
Let me explain. There's nothing left of our world. Nothing left of humanity. To venture out on a ridiculously dangerous mission with both of us? I don't know what I was thinking. If I lost you, I mean, if either of us were lost.
He recovered from girl dying quick. I thought the Seekers only wiped out a human planet, but he's talking like they're Adam and Eve. Apparently all of humanity is likely wiped out, and I found out after an underwear joke? There were opportunities to talk about the scale of this happening, but they only talked about this planet. Unless this is the only human planet left and like the wars wipe things out? I don't know. It doesn't establish its setting well. And they do so little with the characters even though there's opportunity to. Terry living in the shadow of his heroic brother, losing him and having to measure up to him is an interesting idea. I honestly expected more cliche moping about his brother, but that didn't happen outside of a single scene right after. It's so strange because there are set up obvious things to do, but instead nothing happens. There are so many cutscenes of characters being introduced and then dying 10 minutes later. If this sounds off for an Orson Scott Card story, it's because it's not his story. He wrote the dialogue for Advent Rising, and not all of it. The main story was written by the designer and his brother who had never made a game before. The brothers did end up making the Infinity Blade series, which was a really good franchise on mobile, though last I saw it was pulled for reasons unknown. Advent Rising actually had some comics released too, which did explore the characters a little better. Though it is just covering the same events with some interesting artwork, you can never expect a perfect adaptation. At the end of the game they get to the council and Captain Steel reveals that she's magic too. Roll credits. Now, what if I told you the story gets interesting after this?
What?
The Senate recognizes Commander Inoram Tenspur, envoy from the client world Aurelia.
Members of the Senate, I have come before you today with news that is both shocking and unavoidable.
This does become Star Wars prequel territory for a bit, so I'll condense it down. The Seekers have been active for over 1,000 years, uplifting other species into the Galactic Council. They've acted very nobly, except for this recent deal with humanity, so it takes a human to accuse them.
I am here to accuse the Seekers of destroying my world. I was witness to their bloody arrival on Idumea, their deliberate and directed murder of my fellow people, and the complete eradication of my—
This is simply unbelievable! These charges are preposterous! The Seekers are responsible for the sapiency of many of us in this very room.
I recommend that you use your vaunted sapiency, Senator, for this data is undeniable.
The Enkul have requested the floor, as is the right of the accused.
There's a lot more bickering. Until...
Hello, brother.
Ethan.
This drama.
What the fuck is happening?
You look upon a true human, my children. The collective history, the countless religions, all bear witness to me. You know this to be true. The beauty of my divine form has been worshipfully rendered by your artists since time immemorial.
The mixing makes it hard to understand at points, but I'm interested in where this is going. Whoever you saved for the escape pod wasn't killed. They were turned into a being called a Korim or Korim, something like that. Whatever they are, they claim to be the real humanity. They claim to have ordered the secret genocide of humanity because humans as we know them are a race of frauds. Which is true, but in this case we were imitating the Korim's divine form. Human beings are part of the plan of some unknown usurper. This does raise a lot of questions. Are the Korim something of the Seeker's creation they use to dominate the Galactic Council? Are they actually under orders from the Korim?
Marilyn Manson there to accuse the aliens. Lamau, yeah.
They can convert
this fucking ending is crazy. What the
certain
fuck?
Humans to them somehow. Maybe their telekinetic Jimmy Neutron brains make them really into eugenics. You're not a true human unless you have the Force. This reveal opens up a lot of intrigue and can move some things forward, but it's happening at the last possible second. At least you do get to fight a god like it's some kind of JRPG, but this is such a waste. Halligan then opens up a black hole which sucks up the monster and himself, accidentally getting banished to the Himalayas. This is the end, all hope is lost.
is to be done.
It's hilarious that this game thought it's gonna get a sequel.
I don't think it's being continued. The marketing machine for this game was huge. There would be more comics, Orson Scott Card would write a novel, there would be 2 more games to come, but none of that happened. There was also a contest to win $1 million by finding secrets in-game. This was shut down under the pretense of cheating, but in reality the studio and publisher were running out of money. No, it didn't kill Halo, and yes, overall I think it's a bad game. There are cool ideas in that, but the polish is unbearable, and the story is all over the place, but nowhere at the same time. Advent Rising is good remake material. I would love to see the idea fleshed out properly, because
they thought they were cooking. Oh man, somebody should have fucking kept them away from the stove.
Even with all the jank, there are these flashes of being a superhuman warrior that are great. Even
as a famous chef would say, it's fucking raw! It's disgusting. Ghastly.
After getting a fan patch integrated into it, I can't really recommend it. No matter what happens with it, I'm pretty sure the soundtrack will live on, even if it's just in some people's Supreme Commander playlists from time to time. Come back next time for another CRPG, one that's been taking a long time to record.
Heartburn? Even worse, things get, messy. Ew.
Damn.
Okay, that's it for now. Stay safe. What is it with Halo killers and these alarms going?
So yeah, I remembered correctly. This game is kind of a piece of shit. There are so many other games I would love to see remade instead of advertising, though. I mentioned Nightcaster and that game is great but never got moved to modern systems. Oh yeah, there are plenty of other games I would want to get remakes. Other than this, I wish, because literally at the beginning of this year we got a remake of Persona 3. I really wish Persona 1 and 2 got some kind of remake. Personal to me, very personal to me, I wish, because there was a remake of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 in the making before they shut down the studio for no fucking reason, because Activision sucks complete dick. Fuck them. I personally wish that released, because I love me some Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3. The Zanf adventure game I mentioned before had a lot of charm before the bullshit. Yeah, it's like the list of potential games that are potentially good for a remake is endless. Truly, truly endless, but some of them are like, some of them, like, the rights are unclear to who has them and shit like that. Persona 1 and 2 got a sort of a remake for PSP. I did play Persona 2 remake of Innocent Sin, and then I played the original of Eternal Damnation, was it? Because I don't think they moved on to remake that one. I didn't know Persona 1 got a remake though. I didn't even try to play it because it looked so fucking old. I just gave up on the idea of trying to play it. There was the Tony Hawk game where it had that massive patch, or it didn't work, right? I'm not sure. Probably Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5, because Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 was a massive piece of shit that was always online, and it went fucking offline at some point. So, not sure if that's the one you're talking about. Oh man, what are we at? 2 hours 40 minutes. Okay, let's wrap it up with a reaction to Max0r's summary of Elden Ring, which is, I believe, the last video in the series. That was it then. They didn't finish the game before it went to stores. Without the patch, nothing worked. Oh, yeah. I remember. Yeah, it was Pro Skater 5. If you didn't download the day one patch, it literally didn't function. That was fucking absurd. Now I remember it, yeah. Persona 1 has the hilarious bit where as soon as demons show up, you immediately rob a police armory and grab so many guns you have infinite ammo. Hi Stas, welcome back. I did watch I did watch a recap of everything that happens in Persona 1, as well as Shin Megami Tensei 1 and 2, because those are games I don't think I will ever go back for, because they are so old that, you know, some of the gameplay didn't fucking age well at all. And I played like Persona 2 to pretty much 5 later, and I do plan to play SMT because I heard those are interesting JRPGs and I missed out on them. So anyway, back to an incorrect summary of Elden Ring: Blood and Fire by Max0r. Yeah, so far just really fucking entertaining stuff from Max0r, with his like recaps of how he played Elden Ring. Those videos were really entertaining. And like I said, I just finished Elden Ring last week and it has been a blast. So I am honestly looking forward to comparing my experiences with Max0r's. Yeah, but before that, let me just go to the fridge, stretch my legs a little bit, because just been sitting down, you know, for a long time now. So be right back. Okay, I am back. Let's see. The music in the series is something added a couple and still listen to them today. I'm assuming you meant like Persona, because we talked about it before. Yeah, Persona soundtracks are fucking goated. Like, I remember even Persona 1 and 2, some battle tracks that play like during just random encounters with the enemies are so goddamn good. I hope someday I'll seriously take up English, because always writing through a translator and seeing if he translated everything correctly is a bit annoying. Well, if you have like the basics down already. No, I mean Max0r series. Ah, okay. Yeah, that's also true. That's equally true. Max0r in general, I find, has like the perfect music in the background of his videos. I guess MandaloreGaming, that would extend also to. Bricky, I never really paid attention to what music he puts in the background, if any. So, yeah, I definitely agree about his music choices. Not only about Elden Ring, like other Max0r's videos have quality musical choices too. Yeah, if you have like basics of English down to the point where you can like understand to the point where you can like understand those videos and like this stream, I would say you're pretty good already, to be fair. But I'm assuming like writing is the like a different skill that you sort of have to train to. Even if you can already like listen and read really good. Also, I don't. You did mention that you played. That you were waiting for Pathfinder translations. I think like a couple streams back. Yeah, playing games that have a lot of reading in English can also help you with like remembering how words actually function. Like, how do you spell out the different words? Like, I learned English literally by playing games in English that I couldn't get translations for in Polish. And back in the day, that was fucking most games. I was so ahead of my class when it came to English because of that. So yeah, let's get into the video.
Limgrave, Kaled, Liurnia, Altus, Lanedale, Gelmir, Faramazula, Limgrave, whatever this place is, Nokron, Limgrave. I give up. These places and many more in the lands between were once ruled by the great Queen Merica. Before the world's messiest divorce, now Merica's treasure, source of all her power, languishes in the hands of the demigods, waiting to be claimed only by the strongest of champions. But that's kind of hard. This promise drove countless Tarnish to the Erd Tree in pursuit of horrors more terrifying than they could dare to imagine. These journeys are the pursuit of that treasure, the great Elden Ring.
From the open shore I will learn to fly, soaring past the great divide. Voices that surface.
Oh man.
Is it still a sin if I let that minute
This intro goes really fucking hard. Holy shit.
sail to calmer tide? I'll awaken what's
Last time on Elden Ring, our heroes emerged to find a world in ruins and a throne unclaimed. Alone, they braved Godric the Graphic's funny bouncy castle to perform some prosthetic surgery, enrolled in Riot University with a major in family medicine, challenged the great hero Radon in a pitched battle to vaporize the eastern seaboard. Nothing of value was lost that day. Descended into Friedrich Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex and introduced him to the Bullet of 45. And finally, entered the golden capital of Lanedale to claim the Elden Throne. I fucking hate IKEA. But that's all in the past now, and you don't have to view it. My audio sounded like it was in a bathroom sink. So all you need to know is, Skid Row's fucked up. Here is the plan. To enter the Erd Tree, we're going to need more firepower than American Recess. And that is where the Mountain of Death and Destruction and fuck comes in. Compared to California, I would say this is an improvement. To reach these high peaks and mountainous menageries, our heroes must escape California and brave the Forbidden Lands, which is a task easier said than done. Hey guys, Max0r here. Welcome to the Lumaki dimension. I can overlay anything onto the screen. Fuckers built their boss fight inside Patrick's dream. So we head into the cleverly disguised hallway, and the only major problem we encounter is that the enemies are too small to fucking hit. As an empath, I can sense that it—
Oh, I just ran past all of those little fuckers. They were so annoying.
That it's cold. You know what? I think it's time that this is the normal difficulty boss. You know what, fuck it, let's skip this one. Yeah, this is definitely not foreshadowing anything. Welcome to the Funny Mountain, where the difficulty spikes harder than the elevation. Like, geologically, how does this happen? You know, you can tell it's going to be a great area when the first NPC you meet is absolutely off his perks. Wow, dude, you're just like Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm fantastic at writing jokes. So we're here in the oh my god. This mountain is so beautiful. It makes me want to dive into it and stay there forever. Once upon a time, these mountains were an ancient battleground where giants dwelled among men. Now it's a modern battleground where ketamine dwells inside my blood. You know, this place looks really nice, but what did Mr. Krabs do to jellyfish fields? This is not how I imagine dragons. Radioactive.
Jesus fucking Christ. Oh. Man, Max0r's videos always make my fucking brain like go into overdrive and like shut down because of that. Like I'm just sitting here kind of consuming this unholy knowledge pouring out of my screen, but at the same time I'm just sitting here and watching things happen. There is not much brain activity going on in the skull right now.
Well, I'm bored of this place. It's just missing that little bit of variety to the gameplay, you know, with its 3 dungeons. But because FromSoft packaged their game with the ability to do this, he's so beautiful. We're going to be using this amazing mechanic to talk to you about energy drinks. That's right, GamerSupps made the mistake of sponsoring me, and they said, yes, you can make Elden Ring builds based on our flavors. This is a decision I will make them regret. Alright, first on our list is, Blowhole Blast. She looks very sad today. I can think of a pretty appropriate weapon for this build, honestly. Emotional damage. Damages you with how he fucking looks. Titty Milk. Why would you do this? Lots of strength on this guy. He was stung by a bee. Guacamole Gamer Fart 9000. Got a big schnauzer on this one. Gonna be doing an arcane poison build. It really accentuates the flavor. My favorite one is definitely a code Max0r with a 0 for free shipping on GamerSupps samples. He gets to try energy drinks for free using the link in the description. Or he could use the code for 10% off GamerSupps purchases if he is watching the video late. My man's got a lot of stamina. Piss man, because all that water-soluble vitamin B12 has to go somewhere. My sink is so goddamn energized right now. Fuck. That's a big skeleton. I'm sure it's not indicative of any other video games. We have entered the fucking calcium carnival. This part of the game is very humorous. You know what? Fuck this boss. I got a cool plan.
People die to this? I stun-locked him to death. I don't think he even hit me once. What the fuck? Is he actually, like, tough? Like, man, I remember the Deathrite bird outside the Commander Niall, or whatever the fuck his name was. Like, he was so much easier than the Commander inside the fort. Oh my god, Niall kicked my fucking ass, or however you spell his name.
For this guy, it's time to put those wings to the goddamn test. I genuinely didn't know if that was possible. Bailiff, whack his balls. On the far side of the mountain, there's this funny castle. I think Miyazaki put these here to torture me. This is the part of the game that gets offended when you take damage, and there is a lot of damage to be taken. My favorite is the 13th annual Ghost Convention. Very packed venue we've got today. Zoinks, Scoob, I'm taking you to the shelter to get euthanized. Oh, you thought you could escape. Here we find one of the most bosses ever made. You know, if I can ever start fighting him. Hey there, guys, I'm back at the boss run. Oh, so we kill all of his imaginary friends, and he doesn't take to that very kindly. Hey guys, it's me, Nameless King. I thought this was going to be a normal boss. With the frizz, no way. This man is known for having more damage than God. Hey there guys, it's me again. Although I've got to give him credit for showing off great disability representation. From me, my game is disabled from beating this fucking boss. Man's using his wheelchair for a hit and run.
I mean, that boss was really fucking tough to me. I don't know if he's considered hard or not, but god damn, I had some fucking problems with this guy.
Fuck. Why did I do this to myself?
Also, isn't this completely optional, by the way?
Hey there, buddy. Want to hear the lore about this church?
No, thank you.
It all started with an ancient war between
Nice Honkai Star Rail music. Absolutely goated. Honkai Star Rail has some beautiful fucking music.
Doing 20 damage to each other.
That is why, Tarnished, you must ascend up the mountain and face the fire giant.
Wait a fucking second. I wasn't listening to the exposition.
Fire Giant fucking sucks. I hate FromSoft for making this.
So this is John Cena. I call him that because you can't fucking see him. I think they might have made him a little too big. We're gonna have to fight him on his own turf. Oh hell yeah, dude! Let's go fight the fire giant. This boss mostly attacks you with his garbage lid, you know, so he can take the fucking trash out. And that is a problem because, well, he's not holding it with his fucking feet. So to beat this boss, I'm going to have to use my secret ability called Post-Cognition, which allows me to interpret events that have already happened. It appears that I should have dodged that. Fortunately, this boss has a weakness. It's called playing a mage build. Shadow Wizard.
No, playing a mage build against him fucking sucks. I literally had to respec from being a mage specifically for this fight. Like, staying ranged against him is a fucking suicide because he has the insta-kill fucking leap attack. He has that bullshit avalanche attack, which I still don't know how to dodge.
The gang, we love casting spells, but for the rest of us, we have to attack his really detailed feat. This is what Miyazaki intended. You can't laugh at it.
I am now replaying Dark Souls 3, and on Faron Abyss Keepers, I died 20 times exactly. This time I killed him for the first time, but before that I died 5 times on the first boss. I mean, fucking... yeah, Abyss Keepers are not an easy fight. The first boss in Dark Souls 3 is also not an easy fight. Dark Souls 3 has a lot of hard fights, I think. We call that boss for Tarantino. This one goes out. This one goes out for our buddy Tarantino. We know what you're into.
You fucking asshole!
I'm sorry, man. I didn't know to do that.
Fine then. If you want my legs so much, you can fucking have
it. That's not really what I meant. What the?
I never really got why he fucking burn his feet up. Like, it's cool, but why? Why did he do that?
Fuck is that? I think I broke him.
I don't know if the first time I killed the first bosses on the first try. Fucking Index Gunder, you're insane for killing Index Gunder on your first try. Like, that boss actually filters people. Unironically, Index Gunder is a brutal introduction to Dark Souls 2. But the one after that, Board of the Boreal Valley, is a little bit easier in my opinion, at least. No wonder the mage build worked. His game got bugged out. Yeah. The funny thing is, like, mages do no damage to Fire Giant because he has a very large pool of HP, and intelligence spells don't do percentage damage. There are a lot of incantations that the Black Flame incantations like do percent damage, so they're good against him, but being a mage against Fire Giant really sucks dick.
Welcome, Tarnished, to the fire which will burn the Erd Tree.
Great, so I can go in now, right?
No, of course not.
What?
Far beyond these mountains, in the ruins of ancient Oklahoma, there is a weapon capable of killing even the gods themselves. And for your journey to come to a close, you must brave these treacherous palisades. For within lies the shadow of Queen Marika, and the rune of destined death.
Wait, why is it called that?
Why do you think?
Many reasons, actually.
Okay, that's enough for the rest of my life. Take my hand so I can melt myself. Fucking moron. For so long, I have waited for this chance to one day commit arson.
Bro, I think this will actually affect the trout population.
Tarnished, I have been with you every step of your journey, and it made me want to vaporize myself. In Minecraft. This is goodbye, Tarnished. I hope this world crushes your skull like a grape.
Hey guys, Max0r here. Today
I'm not I'm not saying Max0r's videos before this one were bad, right? They are fun, entertaining, they are good. But holy fuck, he got to a whole nother level, like, recently, it seems. This is so much more quality than the first two. Oh my god.
we're gonna be visiting the holy shit, it's so beautiful. I'm a genius. I think this is a hazard. Midwest Fur Fest is fucked up. Oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh. Wow, this shit is really neat. Just gotta walk through the obvious boss arena. Who put this here? Why do they hate me? When does the camera stop twerking? I'm gonna deal with it later. I'm just not thinking about it.
Yeah, I can imagine that Miyazaki wanted his team to put a poison swamp in Crumbling Farum Azula somewhere, and they just told him that doesn't make any fucking sense, man. Please, stop bullying us.
About how it covers the walls in spaghetti. Excuse me, I just forgot my souls. Welcome to the Australian afternoon, where the difficulty spikes harder than the elevation. Look guys, even the magpies are here. They are just a blast to fight, honestly. amazing. They really want my french fries. Dog, this shit look like a war zone. Why are there so many of them? Miyazaki, please. So after a quick detour,
I hate those beards so much.
at the Furry Pride Cemetery, we make our way into the church. You know, the one. Do you get the feeling that this game is just getting too good? Have you ever thought, what's the worst thing I could fight? Well, my friend, think no longer. Godskin Duo.
More like Godskin Trio and Godskin Quadruple and Godskin Pentagram and Godskin... There's 6 of them now, and Godskin fucking Baker's Dozen, man! Fucking... I don't know what they were cooking with. Okay, they weren't cooking is the answer. They weren't cooking with this boss.
Hey guys, it's the Foreskin Brothers, coming at you with another wacky vlogging video. This boss is a real krill issue, a real skull issue. From the developers, I consider this boss a personal slight and attempt to kill me via aneurysm. You know what, I think that 2 Godskins actually isn't hard enough. We can do better. What the fuck? What if I installed a mod that doubles the Godskin Duo? And what if it wasn't the worst idea I've ever had in my life? That shit would be fucking crazy, honestly. Really wacky stuff from my imagination. I genuinely regret this. And even when you manage to kill one, which, good luck, you're gonna realize that you aren't fighting a Godskin Duo. You're fighting a Godskin 3.5. Or in my case, Godskin 14. Because God is dead and we skinned him. Pull off your skin, there's a demon under there. Exiting the best boss in the entire game, we enter the rest of Fair Missoula. The rest of Fair Missoula, a cracked and crumbling landscape, once home to a thriving race of dragons. Unfortunately, though, it is still occupied by a thriving race of dragons. You know, because they're just so easy to miss. I'm waking up to slap my nuts. Awesome, guys, we got lightning fortification. I like it so much, I'm going to keep it on my screen. Why does God forsake his creation? Hey there, guys, it's me again. I'm back for the bird things. Wow, this is so much fucking fun. I'm happy. Fair Missoula is a land of many mysteries. Mysteries such as, why? God? But to access the greatest mystery of them all, we're going to need to do some platforming. Making our way down the fun gameplay, we reach a random divot in the ground, which we're supposed to nap in. This prompts us to have a crazy fucking dream. What the fuck? A dream of what could have been if I didn't smoke crack. Then the storm expands to consume my earthly flesh, like in Fortnite. Shit, I was hoping that would kill me. How's the weather up there? Welcome everyone to the most diabetic boss in the game. He's not really big in the whole movement thing. So instead of killing you directly, Dragonlord Parthenax screams at God to kill you instead. What a coincidence. I also scream at God to kill me. This is like half of his attacks. And if you're wondering what the other half is, it's
I love this boss actually.
It's piss. It's just piss. Come on, man. I don't even look like a sink. This boss hit me so hard that he knocked all the bones out of my body. Don't worry. I managed to take care of his bones as well. It affects his ability to fire straight. This is the best shit I've ever done for a video. I don't know if you can dodge this one. Oh my fucking god, that was so cool. Legalized nuclear bombs. Following a 9-second engagement in my skin relocation, the boss decides that actually, no. Just no. What? I call this move the reaction bait. Thank you, Star Scourge Madon. It's really enjoyable when the boss fucking fights me from a different dimension. I don't think Placiduous Axe is supposed to be doing this. He's loading right now. He can even use a laser to teleport me, straight into the grave. His aim is really, his aim is really fucked up without his bones. Wait a fucking second. We respawn back at the bird section when we die. That's great. That's awesome. 10 out of good.
Oh yeah! The Ancient Dragon is one of the only actual fights in the game that has a fucking run back. That sucks. I never actually thought about that. Because you have stakes of Marika, so every time a boss kills you, you just press a button, you respawn outside his arena like nothing fucking happened. And for some reason, this fucking boss that I really like has a run back, and you need to fucking platform all the way to him every time. And let's just say, after being able to respawn at the boss arena for the whole game, it was quite a fucking miserable experience, because this boss is actually kind of hard.
But where the fuck is he?
But he's so cool though.
Alright boys, last OSHA violation. All we gotta do is walk up to... There is no mercy in this world. This is my favorite boss in the game. I'm just gonna leave this one for later. He shot me through the fucking wall? Hey guys, welcome to the secret duo battle. It's really fun when he gets to play the game. Almost as fun as stoning people to death. And he's got about 15 ways to do it. Number 13, the Palestinian high five. This boss I do not consider very fast. I consider him bullshit, and a big part of that bullshit is the sheer fucking speed at which this man gives London handshakes. Bro, they made Bloodborne like 4 consoles ago. You gotta move on, buddy. Gaming in 2015 was fucked up. We've got a lot of fun attacks with this guy, like rocks and, hey there, broski, how's the weather today? Why are the respawns here like that? So after a long game of fetch with a normal-sized pitbull, who clearly has not had enough preschoolers, here you go, buddy, I'll fix that one right up for you. All right, class, today we're going to choose the strongest. I decided to take this dog on a long walk behind the shed. He's going to a farm upstate.
Oh, fuck. There's a spider on my hand. If destined death is truly thy longing, then claim it.
Malikev is so fucking baller. This is one of their, unironically, one of their best designs they ever made. Holy fuck, he's so cool. And you get his armor after you beat him. It's so fucking cool. Oh my god, Elden Ring is...
I'm going to fucking skin you alive.
Elden Ring is such a top tier game. Holy fuck.
Okay, so welcome to the evil shelter. I call it that because the dog euthanizes you. Malakop and Seath, the whack ape of meth, is definitely the fight. He is so fast, so aggressive, and so airborne that it makes me wonder, when do I get to play the game that I bought? You are literally fighting death right now, so if he kills you, you have to start a new character. Look, I don't make the rules around here, okay? I feel like most of this is just trying to hit him. Ever, and the range on that sword means that he isn't going to share that issue. For lack of a better word, Malekith is an absolute beast, because not only do his attacks drain your health slowly and quickly, but they also reduce your natural lifespan, usually to a few seconds. He also lowers your height to -6. Alright guys, so I figured out the bone remover works in cutscenes. I can't really tell if this makes the fight easier or harder. He's having some mobility issue. Where am I going? This is not a battle of attrition. We are not going to be low in healing, but we are going to be low in health. Malekith might be damaging, mobile, and especially aggressive. Please let me play the game now. But what he isn't is able to survive the base cannon. We can't outspace Malekith, and we certainly aren't going to outmaneuver him. But what we can do is outdance Malekith. I'm very good at it. And with the right combination of dodging, punishing, and staying uncomfortably close to the boss, you smell pretty good, Malekith. We just might be able to take this dog down. At least, that's the theory. In practice, it's easier said than done.
Ooh, I wonder what's this song from. Kinda sounds familiar. I will check later if he has like all of them. I will check later if he has all of them listed in the description. Where is the part where I reacted to Ross's game dungeon? Yeah, just last stream, if you go into like my live streams tab, last stream I reacted to something, I don't remember. I do have his Sin review in my watch later, but I'm gonna watch that like tomorrow, because this is pretty much the last reaction I'm doing today.
Ooh, I'm a big fan of ominous crucifixes.
The rune of death is unbound. And that is probably a bad thing. Now death is once more a part of this world.
I didn't expect Seth as narrator.
Things definitely weren't dying before. I checked. Your destiny lies close at hand, Tarnished. Make the lands between whole again. Restore the Elden Ring. Also, how did you get here?
Nope, fuck that shit, I'm out. I've got a really important errands to do right now. Saving the world, you know, I can do it later. It's not going anywhere. You know, I've just been so busy lately.
Hey there, Tarnished.
Oh god, take me back.
So, how's your love life been?
Well, I have a girlfriend now.
Puppets don't count. Listen, Tarnished, I pity you. A lot. So I'm letting you in on an opportunity.
Is it human trafficking?
Yes. Deep below our feet, on the shores of the blood swamp, the blood white, there lies a kingdom for the rejected, the poor, and especially the incels. Like you. Together with the power of the great Imperium Mikola, which I kidnapped.
You kidnapped a god.
I had free candy. We will overthrow the Order of the Erd Tree and replace it with an order of pure blood.
You know I set the tree on fire, right?
That's not relevant right now. Consider this your formal invitation to Hustlers University.
I'm gonna pass.
No refunds.
Wait, no, I didn't ask for that! He took my bones. Yeah, this place looks pretty safe to drink. Don't you want to try the jungle juice? He really wasn't kidding about the blood swamp. Okay, so we're here with the mesothelioma children. I think I'm entitled to some financial compensation. Oh shit, that one's doing a somersault. Bro, these things are fucking creepy. They hit me back with that fluoride stare. Moguin Palace is the evil level. I can tell it's evil because of all the red and the blood. Now, I'm going to address the obvious here and say, yes, this is just like the end of Evangelion, but that isn't what makes this level terrifying. No, what makes this level terrifying is the... Hey, you! This truly is an Undertale.
Like, that's not even hard compared to the fucking wheel karting redhead guys. They are the fucking worst. Because they are literally a reincarnation of the bone wheel skeletons from Dark Souls. And those things are just... Oh my fucking god, those things are not pleasant to fight.
What the fuck is going on over here? Is that fucking Squidward? I think I installed the wrong bot. Hey fellas, how's your hammer hanging? Oh my god, I'm not feeling comfortable right now. What? They've accepted me as their god. Why is there a merchant down here?
Greetings, traveler. You must be very tired after such a long journey.
Jesus Christ, what the fuck? Where did you even come from? Okay, bitch, let's fucking go. Please stop it. It is so dark in here. That's fucking illegal. No, I refuse to accept that. Oh, there's a chest up there. I don't need the item. I don't need the item. Oh, hey, that's pretty good. I can see why they want to keep that. Are you guys busy or something?
God damn it, I was doing something in the blood dimension, brother. I do not have time to pound your boy pussy today.
Aha, you were busy. Also, what the fuck?
What's the matter, Tarnished? Don't you support young love?
You are siblings.
And you are a little bitch. But I'm not fucking crying about it now, am I?
How do you even fuck that?
There's no need to worry, Tarnished. Because you're next.
Here we are fighting with, Satan. They didn't even try to hide it. That makes up 2 on our list of biblical ne'er-do-wells. I go through a lot to make these jokes, okay? I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. And today, we're going to be fighting the evil boss. I can tell he's evil because of all the incest and the pedophilia. Don't pay.
I mean, to be fair, he's gonna pull out the she's 300 years old or something card. And I mean, technically, he's not wrong, but
attention to the ominous rings and the scary music. It just means he likes you. As the Lord of Blood, Mo utilizes a variety of sanguine schemes, such as the flashbang, the blood force trauma, and the shower. It's the ultimate weapon against a gamer. But most importantly, Moog's main attack is removing the blood from your body and then throwing it back at you. Nice try, buddy. That shit's full of microplastics. By the way, this boss is weak to bleed damage because why not? Overall, Moog is a simple fight. In theory, which is great because I have a simple mind. Every single attack is fair and telegraphed, even if it's a little too telegraphed. And he certainly doesn't need to jump across the arena 7 times in a row. You can really tell I'm not mad about it. Despite being punishing, Moog is one of the best bosses in the entire game. Although I think it could use a little bit more blood. Really haven't seen enough of that. Just be careful what you wish for. Okay, what the fuck is he doing? What the fuck? How do you even dodge this?
again, so much more stylish than his fucking previous videos. Holy fucking shit. Like the music, the visuals, oh my god. He went above and beyond for this one. And also, oh my god, that's not the end. Is he still working on the fucking
fuck off, Squidward.
Is he still working on the 4th video, or
This isn't what I meant by Squid Games.
The hunter she walks on the sea coast way with a path before her crash, and the driftwood floats evermore. It's the salt on my skin.
So, how big is this game supposed to be?
Well, that's pretty fucking good. The trick to this fight is to remember the item that immobilized him you picked up way earlier. Oh yeah, I forgot you can immobilize Smoke. I never used that to beat him. He's such a cool fight. I mean, the back end of Elden Ring is like cool fight after cool fight after cool fight. Except for Fire Giant, he fucking sucks. Fuck him. Yeah, I wanted to check out this, I think, right?
We aren't going to outmaneuver him, but what we can do is staying up.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh. Fuck. Okay, he didn't list all of the OSTs. Well, a shame, but you know. So wait a second. Is this really an ongoing series? Oh my god, it is. He's still. I thought this is the finale. Holy shit. I wonder if he's actually still playing it or if he has beaten the game like multiple times by now. God damn, he really did commit. I have to say. Man, I forget like how long Max0r works on each video, which is understandable. They are over edited to all hell, which is the appeal of them, naturally. Yeah, literally his whole gimmick. I am the guy who spends 3 months editing a video. I think there were some in the comments. Let's see. I did scroll down, but didn't see the honk I mentioned. There is probably like some comment that has like some of these OSTs listed, but doesn't seem to be showing up for me, which is a shame. Well, what else? What else can I say other than fucking quality video? Yeah, I watched the Cruelty Squad video already. I didn't watch his Resident Evil 4 thing. I'm gonna add it to watch later. At some point I will also have to see his Monster Hunter World review, because I'm literally like replaying it right now to get to Iceborne, because I finally fucking bought it after all these years. Cool stuff. Cool stuff. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today. This was partially like an experimental little stream to see if like changing up the hour when I watch when I do these streams, like how does it affect you know, how does it affect how many people come check out the stream and whatnot and whatnot. I'm gonna be streaming again tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, I think at the same hour as today, so like 4 p.m. my local time. I'm gonna make those I'm gonna schedule those streams so you can see it in like your local time. And yeah, tomorrow we're gonna watch more things. Maybe if I run out of things to watch, or if I actually get bored of reacting, I will play some Mechanicus. I'm gonna put Max0r's video into the second rotation, because first I'm gonna see this Bricky video and then Ross's Game Dungeon video, and then we're gonna pretty much loop back to the beginning with Mandalore, Bricky, Max0r. I'm probably gonna move this up. And another Ross Game Dungeon video. I just picked some at random. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. This is a little preview of what's gonna be watched tomorrow, possibly a day after tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. And yeah, thank you very much for joining me. It has been, this stream was mostly about fucking Rogue Trader, because I was really curious about that game, and that took there was a lot of discussion and whatnot. So yeah, thank you very much for like answering my questions when it comes to the game, and just being here in general, making this chill, making this reaction session chill and more informative than it would have been if you guys were not here. So yeah, again, thank you very much, and I will hopefully catch you guys